Hello, welcome
with your bad self
to the ONG StrikeZone, another live episode here. Bryan Fulford here, Marcus Green, Kelvin Rozier. Good to be on with you guys. How you guys doing this evening?
I'm hyped.
Yeah, it's on the cusp now. We've got what?
Yes, sir.
Literally a month. Today's the 26th, so I guess the week 0 is a week from today. A month from today.
Man, we got preseason rankings. You know, we back at football activities, man. You know, I went by the scoreboard is up, you know, and man, I'm hyped, man. Let's go.
39 days to the OBC. 39 days to the OBC. This is the official kickoff to season number 3 of the ONG StrikeZone. So season 3 underway. Fellas, give yourselves a round of applause here. We've made it through the past 2 years. You know, we could not have imagined. We've gone through some highs and lows in year 2. You know, we started the year with our brother Kofi. Unfortunately, we did not end it with him, but we learned so much about the love of Rattler Nation and this family for Kofi and his family. And so that's been uplifting in all of this. And so as we move forward here into season number 3, we dedicate it to making sure that we are bigger and better and continue to ask the tough questions, you know, because as Kofi would say, you can't get anywhere if you don't ask. You got to ask the questions. And so we will continue to ask why. We will continue to challenge. We will continue to support and show love because we are Rattlers and we do everything. We do everything excellent. And you know, we're gonna be above. I'm gonna say this right here. I'm gonna stay above. Hold on, am I in the screen all the way? Am I in the screen all the way?
Close up.
I'm gonna stay. Hold on. Let me go close up.
I'm
gonna stay above
petty.
I'm gonna stay above. I love petty, but I'm gonna stay above petty. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't like jelly donuts.
You gonna go high when they go low,
and I don't work for the SWAC. I'm just gonna say that. All right. So leave all the rest of that foolishness. I love Twitter. We can have fun on Twitter and all that other stuff. Okay. So it's all good though. We appreciate you guys supporting the show.
Hey,
that's all.
I'm gonna say something.
Go ahead.
We do what we do.
Exactly.
And we love what we do. And other people do what they do. And they love what they do.
Exactly.
Grown people, you know, we grown folks, man. We ain't finna go back and forth and you know, over foolishness.
Nah.
Yeah.
We got Rattler Nation here. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. So we're gonna keep doing what we do and what we love to do and what we love to talk about. So hey, let's give some quick shout outs here because already we got some a great group of people here, a lot to talk about today already. Let's see who we got. Sam Digby jumping in way early too on the YouTube chat, as well as Kenneth Rozier, Dr. Lori jumps in. Good to see you, Doc. Bull jumps in as well. We also got Melissa Wilson checking in. Of course,
man, we need to have a tailgate.
We getting close.
We got the tailgate crew around here. Go ahead.
B Starks, Meredith, Mary 305. I think that was before we even hit the live button. So shout out to everybody there. Tamara T, Tony checking in. Good to see you, Tony. Yeah. Sako checking in. Let's see who else checking in. My guy Drew, good to see you, Drew. First one on Facebook, James Austin. Who's in the running for the women's coach already? Hey, already with the tough questions. Marcus checking in. Good to see you, Marcus. Good to see you.
What's up, Marcus?
Stephen Campbell, Mr. Campbell. Hey, we appreciate
Real?
it. We appreciate it, man. We appreciate I tell you, good times at the SWAC Media Day. Hopefully everybody got a chance to watch BCSN coverage of all that. Yes, I am Tamara. I will. I am. It's all good. And so yeah, hey, we SWAC Media Day, big day for Rattlers in Rattler Nation. So we will talk about all of the good happenings there. We also had some good news, some things happening in Tallahassee around our programs. Good news. I said good news happening around Tallahassee with our programs, right? I said good news. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, our offensive coordinator, Coach Joe Henry's coming in to join us at the bottom of the hour. So a lot of people talking about the offense. That was one of the big buzz things going on at the SWAC Media Day yesterday. Everybody wanting to know, who's going to be the next Xavier Smith. How is Musa going to distribute the ball and so on and so forth. So it'll be interesting to kind of talk to Coach Henry about stuff like that. So we'll have him. And really this show is, at this point, it's just us and you guys. So, keep your comments, keep them clean. Let's have fun. I know Dr. Lori's in there. So Doc will put you in timeout and snipe you if you get out of control. But it's all good. It's all good. So I know eventually the other folks will probably eventually tune in and find us, because that's what they do. They always want to know what's going on with us Rattlers. So I understand it. So fellas, all right, let's start with let's get it. Can we get it out the way early, Kelvin?
Go ahead. Let's go. Let's roll.
All right. So obviously Kelvin and I, hopefully if you got a chance to catch Kelvin joined me and AD Drew on the sports wrap on Sunday. We spent about a good hour talking about the whole rap music video shot in the locker room. I saw a lot of comments from a lot of you guys. I think we put a poll out asking if you agreed with Coach Simmons' decision to suspend the activities when he did and getting out in front the way he did. I think 65% of the people who voted said they did. There was a small percentage who who said either suspend a few and not the all, and I think the other one was it's no big deal or something like that. So, needless to say, that was the weekend, and that 48 hours. But Kelvin, it was kind of funny, right? You know how the news cycle is, and I told Drew this. There is the Friday news dump works.
It does.
It works. Coach Simmons got out Friday evening with this announcement. It got picked up, blah, 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 and then you had Dr. Robinson pick it up Saturday afternoon. A.D. Sykes picked it up Sunday morning. In terms of giving their comments. But guess what? By the time Sunday evening rolled around, it kind of wasn't really being talked about as much. It lived its life. And guess what? On Monday morning, my biggest fears were what, Kelvin? What did I worry about on Monday morning?
That the national broadcast folks picking it up and breathing life into it again.
And guess what? They didn't. They didn't. I didn't see it on First Take. I didn't see it on Get Up. It wasn't on ABC. All the shows that I kind of was like, it might end up on those. It didn't. So,
hey, let me just add, and it didn't deserve to be.
Okay, I agree.
I like the fact that Coach got in front of it. And then something we talked about on the show Sunday. I'm glad to see that it was practice. They had a statement ready Monday afternoon going into Tuesday SWAC Media Days where, essentially, the investigation is continuing, but football activities are back and there'll be no further comment until, everything takes its course. And, it's hard to keep things going once you done put that statement out there. So I thought that was a good statement to have, and we moving forward, man, and that's good. It's football time.
Marcus, give your thoughts. However you want to surmise, and good, bad, ugly, whole cycle of the weekend. Your thoughts.
Well, I mean, yeah, I had some thoughts about it in terms of what should have happened. I think Coach got out in front of it, handled it as best he could, and the best we could ever expect. And hopefully we don't have too many situations like that, but you've seen in just about every situation that Coach Simmons handled with class and expertise. As far as the event itself, I mean, I'm like, yeah, I mean, there's a process and protocol for that. And we'll see what happens as a result of the investigation. But I think it was handled well, and it seemed like it had a lot of steam in the beginning. And you still see all these whatever accounts on social media still sending the news out even after it's been announced that football activities have resumed. So, just looking forward to actually having something to talk about besides theoretical stuff, but like things on the field.
Yeah, exactly. Monday. Or actually, the announcement came out that activities resumed, football activities resumed. Guys were able to get back into doing the stuff they needed to do to get ready. Guys report to camp on Wednesday, August 2nd, and then they start their first practice. I believe it was Friday, August 4th, if I recall. Yep. So that's the timeline. So, obviously, the questions weren't they were there during SWAC Media Day, but it wasn't like, and I think part of that was because activities had resumed, and I think everyone kind of realized, okay, it was good to shut everything down for 72 hours, serve the strong message that, hey, this isn't acceptable. And I'm sure after they had their meeting on Monday,
Monday morning,
we gotta do better. We have to all be accountable for what happens in our space, and go from there. And whatever the internal investigation pops up, I mean, whoever, if it was a student involved in the timeline of things, which I'm still curious about. I know some of you online are still worried, wonder how do you get in there and all that will eventually come out. It should. I would hope that somebody just gives a timeline. I don't think it needs to be Coach Simmons.
I disagree,
really?
Man.
Really?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would rather for them to handle it internally, whatever punishment they're gonna do internally, man, and keep it moving, man. It don't need to be a circus. It was a. At the end of the day, this is how I feel. It's a damn video. It was a video. All right. I done seen and heard worse. I understand, like I said on the show on Sunday, I understand why the universe wanted to kind of distance itself and want to make sure that everybody understand protocol and having assets and stuff. That's perfectly fine. But at the end of the day, I mean, it is what it is, man. And like I say, and I know you two guys can attest to this. It wasn't like we weren't listening and reciting NWA and Luke Skywalker and Poison Clan, So, I ain't finna be a hypocrite now.
Right. I mean, obviously, the question is, was there a proper resolution? And some people will ask that, and it's too early to say. What is proper resolution? What is proper? And that's going to be decided for the administration and administrators to talk about. I don't think it'll be swept under the rug. I don't.
Well,
but I also
there's no such thing. They played that. They played all that kind of music songs, hype songs during practice in the locker rooms. Not just that sport, all sports. And like I mentioned on the show, man, I just went to the Essence Festival. It ain't the same, man. Meg Thee Stallion closed it down on Sunday, and I mean, it is what it is. That's young people doing young people things. That's how I look at it.
All right. Tamara T said Coach did a good job talking about it at the 220 Club today. So for any of you guys who got a chance to watch that, I was moving about all day today, going on from there. Okay, I know there's a lot to talk about. We got a lot of stuff involving various sports. We've got news and notes to talk about, not only with some of our other programs, but let's get to the big storyline coming out of SWAC Media Day, and that's the Rattlers pick preseason first in the East. Now, let me say this, and I don't have any kind of fancy graphics pulled up to explain this. So, for those of you who may not have peeked the standings, so I'm going to give out the standings, right? And I want your reaction to the standings, okay? I love this, Dr. Lori. There you go. That's old school right there. Put it on the board. Find a whiteboard or a chalkboard somewhere in an
they do everything with computers now, man.
Make them type it. Make them type it. 1,000, 10,000. What she say? 1,000 or 10,000? Yeah. Make them type it on the typewriter or their phone.
Okay, boy, you old school, man.
I know. We can find.
Man, they probably just dictated to the phone and just let it say multiply times 1,000.
There's fine. Okay, so here's the predicted order of finish that was released. Okay, now when you hear the points are awarded based on your standing. So you get like 6 points for first, 5 points for second, 4 points for fourth, so on and down, 3 for 3, 2 for 2, 1 for 1, right? Okay, so starting in 6th place in the SWAC East, Bethune-Cookman with 34 points. In 5th, Mississippi Valley State with 35 points, but there were 2 first-place votes. There's going to be a trend here in a second. 4th was Alabama A&M, 73 points, 2 first-place votes.
So you say the number 5 team had 2 first-place votes?
And the number 4 team. Hold on, I'm not done though, Kelvin. Number 3 is Alabama State with 80 points, also 2 first place votes. In 2nd place was Jackson State, 94 points, 2 first place votes. In 1st place, Florida A&M, 116 points, 16 first place votes. Now, here's what I was told. The SIDs and coaches vote on this. So we're
Can
talking
they vote for their own school?
Okay, I asked that very question. Now, I was told that they are not to vote for themselves. But come on now. I asked this. Do you believe that? Do you believe that? Who voted? Who
Valley got 2.
Alabama
got 2. Alabama State
got 2.
Yeah, man.
Jackson State got 2.
Yeah.
Come on now.
And for me, it's just preseason, but man, I still want things, whatever we produce, to be credible. And when you do stuff like that, it takes away from the authenticity. So we got to do better.
Well, there's a strong contingent of media folks who have long been asking for the SWAC to allow the media to be involved. Now, apparently, from what I'm told, the coaches don't want the media involved. They don't want media voting in these polls or these rankings. And it's the same for the preseason and postseason awards. Okay, so that's just how the SWAC has done it. And so there's a lot of talk about that.
They need to reconsider and open it up some, diversify, dilute some of what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Bryan, can you run those numbers again?
Yeah. Okay. So again, the number, you want just the total points or first place?
First place.
Okay. So I'll start from the top again. FAMU, 116 points, 16 first place votes. Then Jackson State with 94 points, 2 first place votes. Alabama State was 3rd, 80 points, 2 first place votes. Alabama A&M, 73 points and 2 first place votes. Valley with 35 points and 2 first place votes. And then Bethune-Cookman with 34 points and no first place votes. So not even so. Yeah. So that's how that went. Let me move over to the West. Over in the West, Arkansas Pine Bluff finished 6th with 33 points. 5th place was Prairie View A&M with 68 points and 2 first-place votes. In 4th was Grambling State, 69 points and 2 first-place votes. In 3rd was Texas Southern, 73 points, but just 1 first-place vote. 2nd place was Alcorn State, 94 points, 6 first-place votes. And Southern received the most total points with 122, but they had 13 first-place votes. So by the prediction of the voters, you would have a SWAC championship game between Florida A&M and Southern University.
Who play in the regular season.
Who do play in the regular season.
And the winner of that game, if that holds true, the winner of that game will probably be the one who hosts the SWAC championship game if both teams make it to the SWAC championship game.
Right. Yeah. The what's your thoughts on those Southern votes, Marcus, on the Western side rather, and Southern finishing first? Your thoughts?
How can I put it? That's kind of curious. Now, and if I juxtapose it with the East, and I'm getting a little ahead of some of the things we might talk about later, but I did a little number crunching, and hopefully my numbers add up. Mm-hmm. But if you look at the number of repeat players who made 2022 end of season all SWAC team, and those who made it to the 2023 preseason team, FAMU's got 6, Alcorn's got 5. I think Southern's got 2. So I'm just curious, how that matches up. So hopefully my numbers are right. But when I was doing the numbers right before the show, I was like, wow, Southern's got a lot of votes, but they don't have a lot of star power returning. And Alcorn's got 5 repeat people from last fall. And it's just kind of curious to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I was just going to say Texas Southern also has their core returning, and they added some nice pieces. So I already on record saying that I think the West is going to have the champion is going to have 3 conference losses at least, like last year, and it's probably going to be a tie and come to some kind of tiebreaker scenario. But I agree with you, Alcorn and Texas Southern, and maybe Prairie View, they're all going to be kind of lumped together, I think.
Yeah, there's in talking with a lot of the media folk, you look at those 5 teams, Southern, Alcorn, Texas Southern, Grambling, Prairie View. It may come true what you said, Kelvin, about the whole 3. Would you say 3? Somebody's going to have 3 losses.
3 conference losses and a tiebreaker scenario, which is what happened last year.
Yeah, because it's going to be, I think you got obviously the returning starter in Andrew Body of Texas Southern. You've got, yes, they have a returning quarterback as well. But what Alcorn has coming back is, one, Alcorn they have defense. They've got a returning runner. They've got a quarterback that Coach McNair is sheepishly excited about. Yeah. Coach McNair is the now senior statesman in the conference. They've got a full home game schedule again, because they had to take a hit the last 2 years with their home game schedule due to 2020. So there's a lot of optimism and belief there with Southern. So I think anybody can look at those teams in the West and find fault. When people were talking about FAMU, one of the biggest questions that people have about FAMU is the running game. It's probably the only thing that I think I heard people kind of pick apart and wonder, because obviously we were ranked dead last in the conference last year, 94 yards per game, 1,000 yards total. So when people kind of try to say, well, what's FAMU going to be this upcoming year? can I trust that they're going to have a running game like they had 2 years ago? That's what people are wondering about. I think more people are wondering about that than they are who's going to be the next Xavier Smith, because I think there is depth, and so I think that's the big question. Did you guys happen to hear any other questions or read any other things that people are asking about FAMU other than really the running game?
Marcus.
I have not. I haven't seen a whole lot of running game questions and just from the general populace, but I know that's something in the back of our mind, and Coach Simmons made a point to speak on that, and he actually talked about it during one of his interviews yesterday, or something before the SWAC, either during the SWAC media day or just before, where they mentioned that in 2021, they had an inexperienced quarterback, so they leaned heavily on the run with Rashawn McKay since he was a first-time starter for FAMU. But then I guess with the experience, or at least the collegiate maturity of Jeremy Musa, they kind of went pass heavy. And the stats indicate that. I think we passed almost 410 times and rushed roughly 340 or something like that. But I know rushes also include quarterback sacks, which we didn't have a lot of. I think we had 20 or low double digits. But even still, it was almost a flip. Yeah, we had good pass protection last year.
That was the one thing. I was going to say that was the one thing that our O-line did well and kind of led the SWAC in protecting the quarterback. We didn't give up. I think we had at least sacks in the SWAC.
And I did have to remind a lot of people: 17 returners on the offensive line. So that's a big deal. So those of you, hopefully, if you have not read Kelvin's season preview, make sure to head over to mybcsn.info, or you can find it on our Facebook page. You can find Kelvin's pre-season prospectus and just a lot of great breakdown of what the roster will look like this upcoming fall. So let's do this. Let's get ready to take a break because our guest is in the waiting room, and that's going to be Coach Joe Henry. And we'll talk to Coach Henry here on the other side of this break. You guys who are in the chat, Facebook, YouTube, please hit that thumbs up button if you would, wherever you're watching us. And we will be back in just a short moment with Coach Henry, and we're going to talk all things offense and FAMU football coming up on the other side. You're watching the ONG Strike Zone right here on the Black College Sports Network.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
Looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics, there's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
T. Madden and Associates is a sophisticated and experienced law firm located in your neighborhood. We're turning injury to cash.
T. Madden and Associates obtained almost $2 million for my injury. They turned my injury to cash.
Now, we can't guarantee how much your injury is worth, but we've recovered millions for our clients. Call T. Madden and Associates at 833-PAID-123. That's 833-PAID-123.
Stride K-12 powered schools are ready to put over 20 years of being a leader in online education to work for you. Dive into curriculum designed for the online classroom. Team up with state-certified teachers trained in virtual instruction. Take control of your child's education journey. Discover the power of personalized learning with a leader experienced in preparing kids for a future they can be excited about. Take charge. Stride K-12. Enroll now for the fall.
All right, welcome back to the ONG Strike Zone. Bryan, Marcus, Kelvin, it's a pleasure to be joined by our offensive coordinator of FAMU football, Coach Joseph Henry. Coach, how you doing this evening?
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. It's been a while since you had me back on, but I'm fired up to do it again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know, we try not to bother you guys too much during the season, but you know, we'll do better. We'll do better and have you on more. You know, definitely this upcoming year.
Glad to be back. Honor and privilege.
Yes, sir. So hey, let's talk. How was your summer? How was the off season for you?
It's been busy, but that's a good thing. You know, busy in regards to the amount of work that the guys are doing. Busy in regards to the recruiting we've been doing. It's been busy in relation to the preparation that we've been doing for this season. You know, this is kind of the exciting time of season. You had SWAC Media Days just passed. There's this air of excitement that, you know, everybody thinks they're going to win a championship right now. So we've been doing everything since the last game of the season to put ourselves in that driver's seat and to put ourselves in position to go take what we feel like is rightfully ours.
I hear that. Do you feel like with, you know, as busy, and it feels like it's busier these days for you guys as coaches, maybe because of the transfer portal, do you feel like there's enough time to get away from it? Or do you you just go right from the end of the season, you got recruiting, then you got spring, then you got, you know, what's
camps?
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
What's get away? That's my answer.
Well, I hear that a lot. A lot of coaches are saying that same thing, like, what, get away? What's that?
Yeah, listen, it is so much busier. This will be my 15th season to coach coming up. And when I jumped in this coaching game, immediately when I was done playing in 2010, it looked completely different. And each year it seems like there have been these minuscule creepings, just taking another weekend away here, 2 more weeks here, extending the recruiting calendar here. And then you got the transfer portal that's coming into play recently. And, you know, it just, with each passing year, there becomes more and more of a demand on your time. There becomes more and more of a demand on your energy. And you know what? It's evolving. So at this point, it's kind of adapt or die, right? We don't want to be a dinosaur. We want to make it past those tough periods. We want to make sure that we're doing what we need to be able to still operate as effectively as we can as an organization, the same way any business or any other company would. You know, that's how we have to model ourselves. Coach Simmons has done a great job of hiring people in those needed areas, as has AD Sykes, to try to make sure that those gaps are covered, to try to make sure that, you know, there's a need for this now. Boom, we got somebody hired to do that. So it's a group effort. You know, sometimes it requires the guys that have been here to maybe take on a new responsibility, put on a new hat. Sometimes we bring somebody in to do that. But I tell you what, I commend Coach Simmons and his veteran leadership and the way that he's steering the ship and navigating these, I guess, uncharted waters.
True that. Go ahead, Kelvin.
All right, so I'm the compound question man, Coach. So
let's go.
So this is the only question I'm gonna ask about last season. I want you to kind of describe what you saw in terms of specifically the run game last year. You know, we kind of finished at the bottom and so forth. What you think happened, what didn't work, and then moving forward, you had 17 or 18 guys in the spring, and you got some couple of guys who coming off injuries. So I think your room is about 20 deep right now, and most of those guys have played. So talk about where we are now, how you feel going into this season.
That's a great question. It was compound. I'm gonna hit all the parts and then some. So here we go. The first thing that we did when the season ended is we critically analyzed how can we run the football better? It starts with me as a coordinator, as an offensive line coach. It's my responsibility. It falls square on these shoulders here to make sure that FAMU is able to run the football, because that's what everybody expects, right? We talk about the expectations all the time. We talk about the history, we talk about the tradition, and we talk about the expectations. It's not something that we're going to shy away from. It's not something that we try to tiptoe around. It's there. It's staring you in the face. And so we're very aware of that. So the first thing that we did was we evaluated ourselves, right? From a schematic standpoint, from a personnel standpoint. We went back and we watched our runs. We grouped them all together. I'm not smart enough to watch the first play of the season and then watch it all the way through. What we do is we take all of our inside zone runs and we watch them stacked back to back to back to back to back. And what that allows you to do is you start to see some trends and you start to notice some things. Oh, you know what? We've struggled with this block. We need to get better at that block. So you make a note of it and we attack that in the springtime. We attack that in the off season. Maybe this player was not as effective as we needed him to be here. Let's try him on the other side. You look at it from a personnel standpoint. You look at it from a schematic standpoint. We have recruited in a way, and I know y'all keep up with that like the back of your hand. We've recruited in a way that's going to allow us to run the football a lot better this year. So it has been it's not just a unilateral, like, all right, we're going to do this one thing and it's going to change. We took this holistic approach. And it started with me looking in the mirror and trying to figure out how I can be better, whether it's the way I teach things, whether it's, what plays we call, whether it's how we try to exploit or take advantage of certain defenses. Because here's what I believe. If I point the finger, if I try to pass the blame, nothing's going to get fixed. So a problem's only a problem until you get fixed. And we feel like we put ourselves in position to be able to fix that issue. We're really excited about the young men that we have coming back. You mentioned what we have in the spring. We lost last year Darion Whedon. We lost Brian Crawford, who I'd like to talk about here in a little while. We lost Tariq Bateman. So we lost 3 quality offensive linemen, but we've also brought in other quality offensive linemen as well. We signed 2 big signees in the December transfer portal period. They've been with us this whole spring. They almost, as much as time flies, it almost feels like these guys have been here for a couple of years. They've done such a good job. I'm talking about Yannick Ogunlade, and I'm talking about Ashton Grable. These guys have done a great job of coming in, figuring out where they fit in the room, learning the offense, being coachable, and they have absolutely lived up to the billing that we expected them to upon recruiting them. So those are 2 guys that are going to help us. You mentioned some injuries. Cesar Reyes played a very commendable first half against UNC, playing out of position. He had been an interior guy for us all fall camp last year. And then we got into our roster issues. He came to me, he said, "Coach, we need a tackle. I got you." He put his body on the line for us. And we all know that he had an injury right there at the very end of the first half. But he was balling. So we lost him early, and that was a big hit. But he's back now. He's in full force. Spent some time with him today. High spirits, high energy, really excited about this coming year. Got a bunch of starts under our belt. Obviously, Jalen Goss and Cam Coven are in preseason all-conference nominations a couple days ago. Things that they've worked really hard to earn. And so I'm proud of those guys for that. They will be leaders for us on the field, in the locker room, in the classroom. They've done a great job of really taking the bull by the horns and taking on a leadership role because of their veteran veteran experience. You got TJ Lee, who's played all 3 interior spots. Charles Davis has got as a walk-on redshirt freshman. He's a scholarship now, so he is a guy that we're counting on that's going to be more experienced as we bring more, who's just about to see the fourth year. This first year, so that we feel like can do a good job providing quality starting, quality depth for us to help aid our run game.
All right. Did we get all of those questions in there, Kelvin? Coach, are we still there with you? See where your signal.
Yeah, I think his signal is going in and out.
Yeah, he was good where he was. Let's see. I saw him earlier moving. Give him a second to kind of pick it back up. I think that's what he's doing now. Did he happen to catch all your questions on there?
Oh man, he gave great insight, man. In terms of the breakdown. Yeah, he was very detailed, and I've known Coach for a while. I mean, that's him.
Right.
He's a detailed kind of guy, and he's a straight up kind of guy, right? And to me, that's leadership, right? Everything good that happened, is everybody else. Anything that didn't work, that's on me. I got to get better. That's what leadership looks like, man. And I'm extremely excited for him because just like when we had Smitty Rock on the show last week, he's like I say, he has depth and experience and size. Our line is probably going to average 6'5", probably about 315, and we legitimately have a 2 deep for sure with no drop off.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say I'm curious when he comes back. If I don't get an ask him, maybe you guys can ask him. I'm curious about that depth. Is like, do we have since he's been here at FAMU? Is this the deepest that we have been from a potential starter role here? And I think we got Coach Henry. He's about to check back in as he's logging back in. So I don't know, maybe one of you guys can ask him. Let's see. Coach, we got you back.
Yeah, I guess we had some technical difficulties. I saw y'all's head disappear, and so I was like, "Uh-oh, I'm in trouble."
Well, we had you. We had you. You got most of the good stuff. So we had you there. So that's good stuff.
Okay.
Kelvin, go ahead. I don't know if you had finished with your question for Coach or not.
Well, no, he did a great job of breaking down how he looked at the at the end of the season, how they approach looking specifically at the run game. Then he started laying out all those guys. And Coach, where we lost you at was when you was talking about Seizure coming back, had got injured, and you talked about your walk on that you were going to be relying on a little more. But ultimately, I guess the overarching thing is you have depth, you have talent, you have versatility, like with your group, and so there's you sound very excited going into the season.
I absolutely am. I'm proud of the way these guys have worked. It ain't a very sexy job being an offensive lineman. It's one of those things, you hear it when you're not able to run the ball well. When you do run the ball well, you just try to get a high five from the running back in the end zone. And so it's a thankless job. And that's one of the things that we embrace. You got to have a certain personality type to be able to do that on a daily basis. Y'all see us doing that 11, 12, 13 times a year on Saturday. These guys, it's a life that you live. It's a path that you choose. I'm really proud of the way that these guys have been working. They have become quite a tight-knit group. We work out at 6 a.m. every day, 5 days a week. So, I think they get up and brush their teeth first. But aside from that, that's not always your most glorious hour of the day. But those guys come to work on a daily basis. Coach Cole Forney has applauded the work that they've put in since January, which requires a certain level of consistency, right? You got to be able to, it's one thing to, wake up one time at 6 o'clock. It's one thing to do it for a week. It's one thing to do it for a month. Those guys have been doing consistently now since January. So the work that they put in, we just keep talking about it. We keep believing that there's going to come a point this season where we're going to have to be able to fall back on that work that we put in. We're going to be able to rely on everything that we've done, whether it be in the weight room, in the classroom, on the field, in practice, walkthroughs, meetings, something is going to come up from those opportunities to work. And the fact that we've put in the work, we've given the sweat equity, is going to pay off at some point in the near future. So that's what we're excited about. There's it's one thing to be, a new movie's coming out. It's one thing to be excited about it. It's a whole nother thing to be excited if you're on the production team, or if you're, it's another level. It's a new notch of it. Yeah. So that's the big reason why we're so excited, because we put in all the work necessary. So now it's time to go get that payoff.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Marcus.
Good evening, Coach. Thank you for coming on with us. And looking at last year's statistics, it wasn't bad. It was about a 55 to 45 of pass to run. And I know it's, from the outside looking in, it kind of seemed like it was more than that, or more skewed towards that. And so I wanted to ask, in terms of, how do you balance between having an experienced quarterback who's now in his second year in the offense, and you would expect to be more efficient and perhaps more aware of what's going on downfield, and balancing that with a more renewed emphasis on the run, given that it was, it was slightly above 50-50, so it wasn't like 70-30 pass run, so it wasn't really skewed that way. So how do we get more effective with the run game when we didn't necessarily have an out of balance play calling from last year's stats?
Yes, sir. Well, so, and part of the answer is going to piggyback on what I said earlier. And so let's dive into that. And that is, we've done a bunch of studying over the course of this offseason. And by studying, I'm saying some of the top offenses in college football, some of the top rushing attacks, some of the top red zone teams, some of the most dynamic offenses. We've spent a lot of time breaking those guys down, evaluating why they do what they do, talking to coaches on their staff, and figuring out what ideas, what schemes, what concepts that they do fit in with our personnel, with our guys' ability to learn those concepts, their ability to execute them. We believe in feeding the studs, and that is getting the guys whose names you all know, those single-digit number guys. We want to get them as many touches. We want to find ways to get them the ball in space. So we've really invested in, trying to do that. And for our running backs, that's handing them the football behind the line of scrimmage. That's throwing them screens. That's giving them quick passes out of the backfield. Just opportunities for them to get their hands on the ball in space and then go do what we brought them here to do. And that is, we want to block them up to the third level, make that first man miss, and then see how far you can go with it. So we have spent a lot of time as an offensive staff. We broke up hey, I want you to go look at this. I want you to study this. I want you to figure out this. So we kind of divvied up some responsibilities, and then we did some research. We came back together. So we do have some new ideas, and we feel like we've got our foot in the door with those. In spring ball, this fall camp is really an opportunity to tighten the screws on that, and that is get some more reps at it, and then figure out what we really do best, and then take that tight package and roll it out on the field week one. So that's going to be kind of what you see early in the season is going to be accumulation of a bunch of studying, a bunch of learning, a bunch of talking ball, a bunch of asking questions, a bunch of trial and error. And that's really the fun part of, as a schematic branch of coaching, that's really the fun part about it, because there's a little bit of mad scientist in it where, maybe we should try this, or what if this happens? And sometimes you stumble into it by accident. Like, man, I can't believe that guy did this. And you're like, well, hang on. What if we did it again? It worked so well the first time. So it's kind of a combination of all those things. But that's really the fun part about it. And we got a great staff, man. I love working with these guys. Love going to battle with them on a daily basis. And that is, we just kind of hunker down in our staff room. We put our heads together. We study, we learn, we bounce ideas off of each other. And then when we walk out of that door, we're going to have some good ideas. And everybody's selfless, right? We don't care who gets the credit. We don't care whose brain that initially came out of. We don't, sometimes, one coach will have an idea and another coach, makes it even better. So we're all working together. We're pulling the rope in the same direction. We're rowing the boat towards the same goal. And that is, we just want that synergy so that we're all heading towards that ultimate goal. And that is a lot of what y'all are talking about. We got to be able to run the ball better. We got to be able to there's 2 times during the game we got to run the ball. We got to run the ball when we want to be able to run it. That's kind of early in the game. And then we got to be able to run the ball when we have to. And that's when we know it, the opposing team knows it, the fans know it, the announcers know it, everybody knows. All right, listen, they're going to run the ball here. We still got to be able to run the ball in that opportunity, in that situation. So that's what we've been working towards, is being able to have success in those situations. And I think naturally, as you have success, right? I mean, we've all played Madden before, right? You run a play, it works. Hey, 2 or 3 plays later, let's run it again. So, you start to build some confidence in your offensive play caller, and everybody likes a play that works. So you hit it the first time, let's come back to it again. And so just, again, that is kind of that snowball effect. Then the players start getting confidence, and, hey, you get them on the sideline and you talk to them, hey, what do you guys want to run? And they start popping off these different runs to you, but they're all saying the same thing. So that's kind of how you've got them where you want them. And that's what we're working on developing. We've been working hard, man. We've been working really hard to develop all that, the scheme, the personnel, the game plans, the camaraderie, having all the offensive line work as one, running backs being in concert with them. And that is, trusting their eyes, trusting the offensive line to fit up on guys that they need to fit on, and the Moose distributing the ball the way he needs to. So it's all coming together. It don't happen on day one. We've been through 15 spring practices, and there are still some things that we're like, all right, we got to get better at this. We need to tighten this up a little bit. Let's try that. We talked about doing this in spring. We never really got to it. Now's the time to try it again. So we're really excited about all these things just coming to a head here in early August as we start to get into fall camp. There's going to be a lot of growth. There's going to be a lot of progress. There's going to be a lot of competition. And probably, I was here in 18 and spring in 19 all last season. We probably got more competition on the offensive side of the ball than we've had since I can remember. So that's another thing that we're really excited about. Just the depth. It's a physical game, and inevitably it's the nature of the game. Guys are going to get dinged. And so to be able to say, all right, next man up, and still have that same confidence level that, we can give him a bubble, or we can hand him the ball, or we can throw him a go or a double move, and he's going to do the same thing as the guy in front of him. So we're excited about that part of our offense as well.
Coach, I'm glad you just talked about that depth, because that's one of the questions and you mentioned it all over the field, I'm assuming, regardless of the position. You got depth at receivers, you got depth in the running back field, you got depth up front. So let me ask about one more question about the offensive line. How does our line compare, or how would you say it compares to maybe other lines that you've coached, or maybe even let's stay within the SWAC? Do you feel like this is an offensive line unit that they potentially could have the best running game? Or I know last year we did a good job of keeping the quarterback clean, leading in that category as well. What's your thoughts on how our offensive line looks compared to others that you've seen, or maybe just your past years of coaching?
So, and this is going to be, maybe this is kind of the Sunday school answer, but the transfer portal has really changed the game. And I tell you what, the transfer portal has been good to the Rattlers. So we've got, on our offensive line, we have guys from Florida State, LSU, Texas State, Buffalo, Jacksonville State, South Florida, FIU. Like, we have a roster full of guys that have played Power 5 and Group 5 football. So the bodies look good. I mentioned it earlier. They've put in the work. We've done some body composition testing as of a couple weeks ago. Once we kind of got towards the end of our lifting phase at the end of summer, we're going to do that same test. It was a baseline earlier. We're going to test them again at the end of fall camp. So we've got really the best, the strongest, the most, no pun intended, healthy nutrition program that we've had since I've been here. So all these things are coming together, and it starts with recruiting, and that's something that we've committed to. Coach Simmons refers to it often. He alludes to it, that recruiting is the lifeblood of our program. We're going to lose good players, and we have to bring in good, better players. That's our goal. I joke with my guys all the time. I'm trying to replace every last one of you. And it's your job to not get replaced. It's your job to put in the effort. It's your job to learn the playbook and communicate well. It's your job to be accountable. It's your job to make sure that, you know what, coach is trying his hardest, but he just can't get rid of it. So that's kind of the healthy competition between my guys and myself. So, we've got some tools that we were not afforded in other years. The guys are taking advantage of those. We've got a great nutritionist that's working with us. We got, obviously, Coach Forney is doing a great job at strength and conditioning. They have been more committed to trying to get their bodies healthier through the training room. And I'm not just talking, I had a surgery, I need to go do rehab. That's 2 or 3 times a day. I'm talking, we had a heavy squat day. My legs are a little sore. I need to go be proactive, not reactive. And I need to make sure that my legs are fresher for tomorrow. And that's going to help keep me healthier and help with that longevity. So, they're committed as a group of guys, as any group of guys that I've seen. So I'm pleased with the progress we've made. But, again, we're not in a position where we're ready to rest. We're in a position where we're chomping at the bit, and we're ready to take that next step. And that next step for us is fall camp. I anticipate that we will have more competition than I can remember having on an offensive line. I got guys, the tough thing is you only get 5. You're going to roll the ball out there down in Miami at Hard Rock, and only 5 can run on the field. So that number 6 guy, the number 7 guy, the number 8 guy, the number 9 guy is going to be quality. And they're not necessarily not going to start because they don't deserve it. They're not going to start because somebody else probably deserves it a little more than they do. So that's the point. We believe that competition breeds success, and it forces everybody's preparation to kick up a notch. It forces everybody's accountability to kick up a notch. It's going to force the leaders to be stronger leaders, more vocal, more present, more engaged. And so, all these things coming to a head, I'm pleased with where we are right now, but the job's far from being done. So that's where we got to make sure that today was the best day of work that we could put in. And then you go to bed, and then you get to wake up, and you get to do it again tomorrow at 6 a.m. And then you get to do it again the next day, and you get to do it again the next day. That's the level of consistency that we're aiming for. That's something that we talk about all the time, is being consistent. Whether you could block 3 people on a play and knock all of them down. Great. On that play, what are you going to do next play? You can completely whiff and not touch the guy that you're supposed to block. All right, you had a bad play. That's all right. What are you going to do on the next play? So you can't make one great play turn into a bad play later. You can't make one bad play turn into 2 bad plays. So those are some, all things that we're working on. Those are all opportunities for growth and areas for improvement. And nobody, to their credit, guys, nobody has shied away from any of that. They understand the expectations. They understand the level of talent that we have in the room. They understand. We are, Coach Forney gave me the kind of the final stats on the end of this summer training period. And we are, across the board, we're 6'4", 6'5", a little over 300 pounds. We got a couple guys that are below 3. We got a couple guys that are, a little higher in 3s. We got some guys that are hovering around 6 foot. We got some 6'6", 6'7" guys. But overall, the average lineman at FAMU is about 6'4.5" and a little over 300 pounds. So we're going to put a good product on the field, and we're going to play hard. And hey, let the chips fall as they may.
Yes, sir. Kelvin, Marcus, let's get our final questions here for Coach.
Coach, I just want you to kind of talk about your relationship. You've been with Coach Simmons for a while now on several different stints. Twice at FAMU, and then of course at PV. I kind of want to know, I know y'all been together for a long time, but how do you go about the process of game planning from week to week? Like, what plays we're going to call? What do we think is going to work against this particular defense, against this particular team? How can we get the players that we want to have the ball in places where they're comfortable? Can we block that? Just kind of talk about how you all work together to game plan from week to week.
Absolutely. So the way I look at that, the way I like to look at it is it's part science and it's part art. All right. Part of it, there's a formula for. And if you don't plug this right variable or this right person in at this spot, it ain't gonna work. And then part of it's art. Part of it, there ain't no rule book. There's not a handbook. It's more of a feel. It's more of a, this is what we think, and let's roll with it. And we got to trust ourselves. We talk as coaches all the time. You got to trust your eyes. You got to trust your thoughts. You got to trust your gut. And so, I feel like we've got a great working relationship. We do a good job of, bouncing things off of each other. And I'm talking whole offensive staff. We're all in it together. And we got a great team of guys that are willing to put in the work, are willing to put in the, the hours, the time, the investment. And then once we start so early in the week, we come up with this initial plan and we say, hey, let's put all these plays on the board. Let's put all these plays into our call sheet. Let's practice them. Let's see what hits. Let's see what doesn't. All right. We don't ever want to put a play on the field on Saturday. Maybe we dropped the ball on Tuesday in practice. We threw an interception on it on Wednesday. It was incomplete on Thursday. And hey, we're going to run that play in the first 8 on Saturday. It don't work like that. It's going to get scrapped at some point before that. So, that's part of the formula part. Like if it ain't working, it ain't working. We got too many good players and we got too many good plays to try to throw something on that call sheet just to force, square peg into a round hole. So we always want to stay away from that. Another thing that I think we do a really good job of is trying to communicate with our players and getting feedback from them. They are not shy. They have no qualms about coming up to you, Coach, I like that call, or Coach, can we get that one in the first quarter? Coach, we got to call that at least 3 times. I was feeling it in practice. So we get a lot of good feedback from our players too, and they're honest with us. They're open. Sometimes maybe to a fault. Like we talk all the time. Like feelings at this point in the game, they really don't matter that much. Let's be honest with each other. Let's keep it a buck. Let's shoot each other straight, and we'll deal with feelings later. So sometimes we got certain guys on the team that don't hesitate. Coach, man, that's whack. Who came up with that? Golly, was that? I thought it was a good idea. So there's that honest back and forth with the guys where they'll give you their feedback. They'll tell you what they're really thinking, and that's an important step in the process as well. So part of it, to answer the question, kind of in a nutshell, part of it's it's regimented. It's laid out on Sunday. In the evening, we're going to do this, and we're going to have this part of the game planned up. On Monday, we're going to come in, and this is what we're going to start working on. We're going to start watching. We're going to study this personnel grouping, and then we're going to go through, and we're going to have a plan. By the time we break for lunch, we're going to have this part of the game plan done. And then there's a lot of it, too, that's more artistic. It's a little more feel. It's a little less, hard and fast, but we have to do this. There have been times where, Coach is a junkie. He don't stop. And he's watching film all Thursday night. We don't have practice on Friday. It's our travel day. You see him on the airplane, and he's got his laptop in front of him. There's times we've come into Friday night meetings. He'd be like, all right, God, this is what we're doing. All right, well, hang on, Coach. What? Sure enough, it pops. So that's part of that art part of it, where you just got to feel, you got a gut, you got an instinct, and you go with it. You trust that.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Marcus.
All right, in the spirit of our departed brother Kofi, you might have heard him yelling, "Run the ball" from the stands. Could you talk about the versatility of the running back room? I see you have various skills and size, and just how is that going to help achieve or even surpass the goals you have for the rushing attack?
Well, I'll tell you what, I do not envy Coach Marcus Wyndham. He's our running backs coach. He is our run game coordinator on offense, and Coach Wyndham might have the hardest job on the staff. That is, we are primarily a one-back offense, and he has a room of about 9 running backs that each can make a really good case. The coach, you need to feed me the ball. I need the rock. He does a great job balancing just the room. And I tell you what, man, the credit to those guys. They're all low ego. They're all high work ethic. Terrell Jennings is a guy that's been around. He's played a lot of snaps. He's taken a lot of carries and handoffs for the Rattlers over the course of time. He is a big physical running back. He's a leader on our offense. He's been here since 2019. I actually recruited Terrell when I was a running backs coach here. So we built a relationship through that process, and we're glad to have him around still. You got Jacques Gent, who transferred in. He's a local guy, but he's got Power 5 experience. He's a big, fast runner. He was one of the high picks in our spring game draft. A lot of coaches thought that he was a high-value target, and so he went off the board early. You got Kelvin Dean Jr., who we've affectionately called Woo. Woo is kind of your slasher. He is a one-cut runner. He can make you miss. He got some wiggle, and he is more likely to not get touched than he is to get touched. We got a lot of other guys. I mean, we could talk. We got Leland Wilhoit, who's explosive. You know, he's in our running back room right now, but he's a guy that we can line up out wide. We can put him in the backfield, but he's a guy that we want to get the ball to. So there is a long list of guys that we feel confident in, that have worked to earn our trust, that will protect the football, that are going to do a good job of trusting their eyes, working with the offensive line. They know where they need to be. They know where they fit within the offense. They're willing to protect. And I know y'all talked a little bit earlier about, having the fewest sacks in the conference. They're a big part of that. We're a big 6-man protection team, which is 5 offensive linemen, and the 6th complementary offensive lineman, which is a running back on those plays. So those guys have done a good job of studding it up in the A gap and B gap, and they've tried to get some bull rushes before. I tell you what, I'm proud of that room. I love the way they work. Low ego guys. They don't care who gets the credit, just as long as things are clicking and everything's going well. So Coach Wyndham's done a great job. Hats off to him. But they're a big part of why we're excited about this run game this season.
Coach, I can't believe we went almost 20-something minutes with you, and we didn't even talk about the receivers, because that's all people were talking about at SWAC Media Day yesterday, trying to figure out, well, who's going to get the ball? Who's Musa going to throw the ball to? So I'd be remiss if we let you out of here. And I'm not going to ask you because we're real deep, but what's your thought on, how do you call it, post-X? The life after Xavier? What's that going to look like for Jeremy Musa?
Well, to answer that first part of the question, I'm not going to dodge any of these questions now. If you got a coin to flip or a dice to roll, that's how we're going to figure out who gets the ball.
Okay.
But, we feel like we have. I tell you what, Coach Carter has done a great job of coming in, and he has, in a very short amount of time, really transformed the way that room looks. And that is, we all know who Xavier Smith is. We all know what he's done for this program. Nobody. We've been on for an hour and 7 minutes now. We could talk an hour and 7 minutes about what Xavier Smith's done for the FAMU Rattlers. He ain't replaceable one man. So, there's a lot of productivity there. There is a lot of experience there that's going to have to be replaced by committee. All right. Now, obviously, Moose is going to do a great job of distributing the ball where he needs to. This game at the NFL level and at major Division I college football, like we're playing, it's a quarterback-driven game. So that's one of the things that we're so excited about. Is that Moose is really, really spending a lot of time with those skill guys. We do have some new faces. We got some older faces. We got some young faces that have been here for a year or two. They really haven't played very much. We got a lot of skill and a lot of talent. So he has really invested this summer, this spring, in spending time with those guys, really digging into the nitty-gritty of the details of the position. He wants those guys, and I tell you what, man, he's a great teacher. He wants those guys to see the same things that he sees as they're running routes. And, you need to shut it down right there. Here's why. Not just do this, do that, but here's what I see. Here's what I want you to see. So we're working on we're on the same page. We're working at one accord. So Moose has done a great job of working with those guys. Coach AC has done a great job of recruiting his room and really elevating the talent level in there. So, there are even some guys that we've brought in since the end of spring ball that we know have ability. We know they have talent. We know that they're picking up the offense, but we ain't been in pads with them yet. So we're excited about that part of our offense as well. It is, you kind of tried to throw me a little curveball here. I didn't come on expecting to talk about receivers, but you better believe I'm going to find a way to bring it back to the O-line. We got to be able to protect whatever routes you can draw up, whatever double moves and big posts and go balls and fades and all that don't matter if we can't keep Moose upright. So we got to do a great job of scheming as coaches. We got to put our guys in a position to succeed. And that is, we got to do a great job of scheming how to protect those plays because our guys are going to get open and they're going to make guys miss. They're going to catch the ball with confidence. They're going to run through it. Moose is going to put the ball where it needs to be. So kind of like just about every one of my answers has wrapped up. We got the pieces in place. We just got to put it all together now.
Well said, sir. Well said, Coach. Hey, we appreciate your time tonight. I want to give you the last word. Anybody you want to shout out? Anything you want to let Rattler Nation know that maybe we didn't ask or that you want to talk about before you leave us tonight?
Tell me that last part one more
Well,
time.
I was just saying, I wanted to give you the last word. Anything you wanted to say to Rattler Nation before we go?
I got you. Yeah, it's an exciting year. It's an exciting group of guys. We only got 4 home games, so we need support at all 4 of those home games. It is. I got a counter going, and I don't know what the number is, but it's been, I think, over 1,600 days since we've lost a football game in Bragg Memorial Stadium. So we need the support. Obviously, the 100 will be there. Student section will be there. We need you guys buying tickets. We need y'all coming out to support these young men. They worked hard. They worked their butts off. And what we put on the field is going to be an exciting product. You guys are going to like to see it. That we've talked offense strictly this time. Our defense is something special to see too. Those guys fly around. They play hard. I think I tell you what, they got a lot of depth as well. So it's going to be an exciting year. Things are lining up for us to have success. Just got to put the rubber to the road, and we need as much support as we can get from all the Rattler Nation.
Well said, Coach. You guys make sure you guys hit Coach up. There you see his Twitter handle at Coach Hen501. Hit him up. Let him know, thanks, and make sure you follow him. Coach, thanks for your time tonight. All right, we appreciate you.
Absolutely, go Rattlers.
Let's go.
All right, let's go. All right, Coach. All right, Coach Joe Henry. We appreciate him jumping in and joining us. Let's do this. Let's take a short break. Come back with our next segment. We'll talk a little bit about that interview with Coach and get to a few other Rattler Roundup kind of things, maybe non-football related. Then take another break and come back and spend the final part of the show talking about more SWAC Media Day kind of stuff and just the preseason selection, so on and so forth. All right? So hang right in there. You're watching the ONG Strike Zone. We're going to take a short break. Be back right after these words.
Supermarket sushi, really?
No. Wait, Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working, huh?
Oh, Troy, you're such a good teacher.
Yeah, I know. Never not working. Never not working. Never, ever not working.
Are you serious?
Never not working. Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KeversVoice.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
At Hampton Law, our primary goal is to provide non-traditional yet effective solutions and redefine the approach to client legal concerns. As your trusted legal advisor, we believe in sophisticated, personalized services that eliminate the confusion and complexity sometimes associated with legal matters. Our high standard for client care and concern, coupled with our extensive legal knowledge and skills, make Hampton Law a resource focused on the protection of the client's interest and overall goals. We value our clients and truly enjoy working with them. Visit thamptonlaw.com to conveniently schedule an appointment online. Tamika Hampton Esquire, 1631 Rock Springs Road, Suite 336, Apopka, Florida, 407-494-1471. thamptonlaw.com.
Majesty is a premium health and wellness tea line focused on bringing delicious yet healthy tea blends to the community. Filled with an abundance of vitamins and antioxidants, we work to blend teas with exotic spices and fruits to produce scrumptious and wholesome beverages. So check us out at mymajesties.com. That's MyMajesties.com. My Majesties, an Urban Passport member.
All right, welcome back to the O&G Strike Zone. Bryan, Marcus, Kelvin, good to be back with you. Want to encourage everybody to make sure that you guys go out on social media and hit up Coach Henry. Let him know you appreciate, him taking time this evening to come on with us. Make sure you let them wish him well going into this season, because that's how these coaches, they want to come back, and as long as you guys are watching and paying attention, and so I saw some people hit up Coach Smitty Rock last week. We appreciate that, and you guys show some love to Coach Henry as well. Find him on social media at Coach Hen 501, and that way, when we reach out to Coach in the middle of the season, he'll be up to come on and join us. We can get some updates throughout the year, right?
And Bryan, you know what we could do, or we at least try.
Yeah.
The one thing I did in my account is I created a list of HBCU paraphernalia accounts on Twitter. Mm-hmm. What if we create a list from the O&G Strike Zone account of all the coaches?
Okay.
So it's basically like an accumulator or aggregator of the account. So if somebody follows the list, they'll see all the posts from the people on that list.
I got to go back and check the list. I created a list. I don't of most of our coaches, but maybe Marcus, if you're able to check our O&G social media page or at Twitter or X, whatever the heck they call it these days, if you check that and let me know what that list is, and that way we can kind of do that. I like what you just said. I want to make sure we do that, and that way we have all the coaches created a list. So maybe that give me something to work on while I'm traveling here over this upcoming weekend, family reunion style. So what other hold on, I wanted to do some thoughts here. Marcus, Kelvin, talk a little bit about the offensive side of the ball. Expectations are high. I want to take a second while you guys are talking. I want to load up a couple of images here, so I'm going to let you guys kind of talk a little bit, and then I know Kelvin, we got some stuff to talk about non-football. I thought we'd do all that here in this segment. So just kind of you two kind of post wrap up here with the coach with Coach Henry's interview while I get this together.
Marcus, you go ahead and take the lead.
I was going to say, right before he came on, I was looking at our run-pass ratio. I'm surprised it was only 55-45 towards the pass. It just seemed like a lot more looking at it. The other thing is, I was rolling up some stuff for a potential document we may share, depending on what you guys say. And, looking at our stats from last year, we were, I don't have the numbers for 2021. I was trying to do a year-over-year comparison. But in total offense, we were like 75th at FCS. So we got some room for improvement. That's basically based on yards per game. So, we can bump it up. And I think with the talent we have and having basically almost a two-deep offensive line, which really wasn't an issue, in terms of being a sieve last year. And we only gave up 21 sacks. But I think we're going to probably have closer to equal yards in terms of passing and running, whatever that looks like. Because last year we had about 2,800 in pass offense, but only 1,000 in rush. So that's a 2.5 to 1 ratio, nearly 3 to 1 ratio in terms of yards gained. So I expect that to be a lot more balanced out, hopefully with a lot more with higher numbers and higher production on both sides of the ball next year. Because I think we have potential thought of the turning people and the pieces added. And there's no slight towards the talent accumulation of the other teams that we're playing, but if everything goes according to plan, we could see some numbers we haven't seen in years.
And that's the exciting part for me, Marcus. We have 17 returning lettermen. I mean, most of those guys played and started because we had injuries, because we had the compliance stuff that at the beginning of the season. Most of those guys, and most of these guys are not 1 year starters, 2 year starters, players. And last year was the first year that everybody got to play together as one collective unit. So just like we talk about Musa development and how he should look this year, that offensive line also should grow from last year also. Because you got to remember, a lot of players transferred in, like Jalen Goss, and then we had to play a true freshman, Demas at center, and then we had even Kelvin was a transfer in. So we had a lot of new pieces. They may have been talented, but they were learning the offense, they were learning each other habits and so forth. And so I expect that just to look a lot better. One of the things I would say that was surprising to me in looking at last year, because it just didn't feel that way. But the two stats that I'm gonna judge this team by, we were pretty decent on fourth down, but it was a small sample size, and we were okay on second and third down short yardage. Okay, we wasn't stellar, but we struggled to get a yard or two when we needed, and then it was reflected in the red zone.
Mm-hmm.
We scored in the red zone, but we had way too many field goals in the red zone. And I'm talking about inside the 10 a lot of times. We could not, as Coach Henry was talking, we didn't enforce our will on teams. And we would try to run the ball on a predictable, and it was predictable, and we'll get stuff or may lose yard. Then we'll come down on second down and try to throw it, and we'll, get a sack, or we'll try some fancy play, trying to get the receivers in behind the line of scrimmage, man. And we just gonna have to be able to line up. Now I know Kofi would ask this question, and and I know Coach is watching. He mentioned about us being a one-back offense. Well, Coach, this is what you and Coach Simmons love y'all to death, but we got to get on the center. We got to have a second back in there sometimes with two tight ends. All right, we don't always have to be a one-back offense. And so that's one adjustment I hope that they'll make going into this season. But as Coach Smith-Rock talked about the defensive side of the ball, let's face it. We said we got 17 returning linemen, and then we brought in those 3 transfers. We're big. He gave you the stats of the size. We're big. We're talented. We know wide receivers. We only really lost 1 wide receiver. And so our whole receiver and tight end group is coming back. I think the number's around 21 wide receivers and tight ends, and about 10 of those are seniors. Just like our 2 tackles and our first team all SWAC offensive tackles are seniors. I mean, grad students. So we're experienced as well as big and talented. So the expectation is we're going to take that next step. Just got to see it.
Mm-hmm. And to your point about the offensive linemen, the 3 that we lost Brian Crawford, who was a longtime Rattler. But I think the 2 others that we lost were transfers in, Tariq Bateman and Darian Whedon, and they just came in last year. So we only lose 3, one of whom had a lot of Rattler experience, and the others were more or less there for 1 year. So the people who played behind them and got experience, or at least on the roster, and you mentioned TJ Demas, TJ Lee, and the injured Cesar Reyes. Now they're coming back strong. So now we have a lot of experience, but they're here for more than 1 year. So, that just speaks to the depth level that we have in addition to the people who transferred in. I think the only one who may have 1 year of eligibility left is the young man from LSU. And everyone else is coming in with at least 2 more years of eligibility. starting with this year, at a minimum 2 years eligibility remaining. So that only bodes well for the talent accumulation that we have on the offensive line.
Agreed.
And also, and I was asking about the versatility of the running back, and Coach Henry didn't give a lot of detail, but to your point about the 2 running back set, we have power, we have strength, we have speed, we have slash. So there's an opportunity there if we need to go to 2-back set for whatever formation or whatever the play call may be, or whatever the defensive look might be. There may be an opportunity to have more diversity on the offense and be able to pound it in where we need to.
And let me just add one more quick thing. Again, the thing for this FAMU team, I want to make sure I express this. 3 of our tight ends are seniors. Mm-hmm. One of them, maybe 2 of them are graduates, right? Grad students. Terrell Jean is a grad student at running back. Then you talk about Yance and who will have another year left, but he's a junior, redshirt junior coming in, and then you have Dean, who also is, I think, a redshirt. So we're experienced too. We're deep and experienced, and that got to mean something. We've got guys who played a lot of ball, some who played at FAMU, some who played at the Power 5 level, Group of 5 level. Got a nice blend there. So all that experience got to count with something, along with the talent, and that's what I'm looking for.
Speaking of tight ends, that was one of the, I asked Jeremy when I had a chance to sit down, or when he came and joined, he and Javen, when he joined me during our coverage yesterday, I asked him, who's the offensive guy that has really, and I know a lot of guys have stood out, but just maybe a guy who's really stood out that we're not talking about. And he said Kobe Gross, the tight end. He really felt like Kobe has been dependable, putting in the work. So we got a tight end core, and I know I saw who was it? EA put puts up there about the use of the tight end, and that's understandable. I mean, as Kelvin just pointed out, we've got experienced guys, redshirt seniors, grad guys with talent.
They got the size and everything.
Yeah, it just adds to the options that we have. And look, we're as good as we are healthy, but I think we could be a different team every game, whatever the situation calls. Because, look, somebody's strength on day one may not be the next team's strength. Jackson State folks are saying their strength is defensive line. I was in the press conference today for the MEAC SWAC Challenge. I heard Coach T.C. Taylor say Jackson State's strength is their defensive line. Okay. So what's that telling me? That his strength is not the secondary where it was the last couple years, right? That's all they talked about was how strong their secondary was. So that's telling me, okay, their defensive line versus our offensive line. Maybe our tight ends getting in the secondary or in that mid-range area against their linebackers. Those are the kind of things. Our receivers beating their defensive backs. Those are the kind of things that when I hear that, okay, your strength is the defensive line, well, we're going to find out when you guys play South Carolina State. But now, okay, I'm curious. We can mix and match. The next team's strength may actually be their secondary. So what does that mean? Okay, we got to go pound them with the rock. So I think we can be a different team every week. That's got to be a fun problem to have for Coach Henry and the offensive team. And so but the competition is going to be real interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to your point, I know, putting some stuff together for the team a couple of years when we first started, 2021, I mean, we still only used the tight end, but it was like efficient. They had like 13 or 14 total catches and half of them were touchdowns in 2021. 2022, he even dropped off even more. So I know Jeremiah Pruitt got a few passes, but it just seemed like we haven't integrated the tight end fully into the offense or figured out how we want to use it. But now that we have, I won't say lack of star power, but now that Xavier Smith's gone, Chad's 2 seasons removed, and so there may be more of an opportunity for the tight ends to be more integral in the offense.
And just remember, I just add this last tidbit with the running back room. We ended up getting into our depth last year. We, by the All Benton State game, we had like 2 running backs. We were playing a walk-on and a freshman. Mm-hmm. So because people getting injured and nicked up, right? McLeod got hurt, Jennings got hurt. So Davis had already gotten hurt previously. So having that depth is we can't underestimate that. You never know. Like Coach said, things happen.
All right, before we take a break, let's go through a few things non-football related, or at least non-football team related, because I think these are some interesting news and notes. And I know we've got some video, or not video, but more pictures that Kelvin, you've been out scouring the yard and on campus, and you got some good photos. Let's first talk about that scoreboard. I know a lot of you have been itching. You were one, I had a few people hit me up and say, "Where'd the video of the scoreboard go?" We were loving that. Well, it's down, but look what we got. We got a scoreboard. The scoreboard is going up. They put the panels up. Kelvin, talk about this.
Yeah, that was the day. Look like they got those panels in place within like a week. They started, last week this time, none of the panels was up. And today all the panels up. Now, of course, all the infrastructure stuff that go with that, is still not in place. But it's great that the thing you worry about when you got a tight timeline with construction is having the materials on site. And so the fact that we had all the LED panels delivered and we already got them installed is a good thing. Now we still got to get the infrastructure. And then my understanding from talking with some folks was that the PA system, because we got a new PA system coming along that's going to be a part of this, will come in next week.
Is that going to be on the sides or above or below? What are those?
I have not seen the design of it, so I'm not sure yet. But I do know that a new PA system is a part of this process too. So and as you can see, they're coming along with the resurfacing of the parking lot, and they've already completed the driveway coming from the one-ish way past the parking garage into the stadium. So we have another access point into Bragg Stadium also on the the east side. Yeah.
Now, also, we talked. There was talk and discussion of, if you look at this picture here and you look at the height of the scoreboard, there's room, and we were told that they were going to actually put some temporary bleachers underneath.
I don't know about all that.
Well,
they have the ability. They have the ability to do it. I'm not sure what the north end zone gonna look like. Are they gonna have a similar setup to previous years or what? Because things are a little different. So I have not seen. I'm not sure, but they do have the capability to do so. But I don't think that's been flushed out yet.
Mike Reed asked, when do they install the fireworks cannon? I'm not really sure what fireworks. The fireworks that are supposed to go on top of the scoreboard?
I guess the ones that shoot up, when the team come out and after a victory. They'll probably still do that from the top of the field house.
Yeah, they better not do it near that scoreboard. It costs too much.
Let's move over out to the golf course. We've got some. Obviously, we saw the video last week. We showed the video that that our golf program received the indoor simulator. We got some adjustments, or what do we got here in terms of our outdoor putting and driving range? Correct.
So Coach had this vision a few years ago. We were standing out there in the area where this is where the Rex fields are, and he had this idea, and we were kind of discussing about laying out a area where the golf team and the public could drive some balls and practice on their game. So on campus. So now the players stay on campus. That is lighting out there also, so the guys can come out and work on their game almost anytime during the day or night. And then you mentioned the golf simulator. When the weather doesn't permit, now they can go. I'm not sure where they placed it, but I believe it's in Lawson. But they can go where the golf simulator is and still get some hits in. So this is a great recruiting tool and an advantage. We have a really good team. Coach does a great job recruiting, and there's just really no HBCUs that have those two things in their golf program right now on campus. So we should only get better.
All right, good stuff. Congrats to Coach Rice and the golf program. I was at Top Golf over. It has that look. It reminds me a little bit of Top Golf. I was at the Top Golf in Birmingham, just kicking it. I think Monday night before the SWAC Media Day, and that was pretty impressive. So I'm not much of a golfer, but in my mind, visually, I golf. So, and I have a heck of a mini golf game. So yeah. Good stuff there. Hey, one other event that's coming here. I went to this press conference today. Right here, I happen to be in Atlanta, and they had the press conference for the MEAC SWAC Challenge, and Executive Director John Grant announced, in conjunction with ESPN Events, a major announcement, the inaugural Band of the Year National Championship, which will be held December 15th in Atlanta, Georgia. Okay, now, let me just say, first off, that is not John Grant, but that is Don Roberts, Florida A&M graduate, Marching 100 drum major, the man who was responsible for the choreography of the movie Drumline and Beyonce's Coachella performance. That is Don Roberts, who is a part of this. He is a Rattler. I talked to him at the presser. He's going to be coming on the show. I just got to hook it up with him. But and I think he said his son just who was a drum major, just graduated as well from the 100. So
yes,
he is heavily involved in this. So if he's involved with this, Executive Director John Grant is involved. This is going to be huge. So let me just here, I'm going to lay it out for you. This is how it was explained to me. Imagine the college football playoff rankings and how that whole process leads to a national championship game. And imagine that for bands. So each band, Division I and Division II, because there are two divisions, okay, will have their own national champion. So obviously what we're talking, MEAC, SWAC, A&T, Hampton, Tennessee State, right? And on the Division II, you're talking CIAA, SIAC primarily, right? So each band throughout the course of the season will have up to, I believe, 4 band performances that will be judged. So the bands will submit their band performances, right? And pretty much every other week, they're going to, I don't know exactly which date they're going to start, but probably I would guesstimate sometime either mid to late. I would probably say late September or either October is when they're going to start. But they're going to have a bi-weekly rankings based on halftime performances, not the 0 quarter, not the 5th quarter. Your halftime performance, you'll be judged on things such as execution, musicianship, formation, entertainment value. All of that stuff will go in, and you will be ranked based on, the performances you send. So, obviously, let's use the Marching 100, for example. The Marching 100, they will do a show, obviously, for Jackson State and the Orange Blossom Classic, right? Then let's say 2 weeks down the road when they have their first home game against West Florida, they may have another performance. They will submit that. And so they will already receive a ranking based on that. And, one of the things that Don Roberts is going to be responsible for, he's already responsible for picking up the judges and sort of setting the criteria of what the judges will look for. So every week you'll either move up or you'll move down. Then at the end of the year, the top two, ranked number 1, ranked number 2, will go to Atlanta on the eve of the Celebration Bowl and compete in this competition for a national championship. Okay? Now, Mr. Roberts was very clear about saying this. This is not like the Honda Battle of the Bands. The Honda Battle of the Bands, as he said, is a showcase. It is not a competition. This is a competition, and a national champion will be crowned. And so not only will a team receive the trophy, the recognition, but they will also receive a nice financial reward for winning that national championship. Now, Mr. Grant didn't tell me or share what that number is, but I would imagine that's probably due to they're still maybe getting some sponsors, getting behind it. And if you give out a number too early, it might even be more. Let's just imagine if it were 500,000. I'm just throwing a number, right? Don't quote me, okay? I'm just guesstimating. Let's just say if it's 500,000 for the winning band. Well, you say that too early, then you're kind of stuck there, and this is being put on by ESPN events. So this is not a case of, hey, we're going to be short on money or we're not going to be. No, this is big time. ESPN events is behind this. So that means there's going to be some sponsorship dollars, some corporate dollars. And so when you go to Atlanta to the Celebration Bowl weekend to watch FAMU play somebody from the MEAC, you'll get a chance to go over and watch. You see how I did that?
Yes, sir.
You'll get a chance to go over and watch the inaugural band of the year. Yes, and I know everybody wants to know the money. See, I know. See, I know that, Mr. Campbell. I know, Steve. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to know where the money is. I'm sure by the end of September, they will let you know what that money is. But I'm told it is a significant amount. Now,
Bryan, as you're describing it,
yeah,
it reminded me, or actually, the thoughts that came to mind is like a convergence of drumline. And I know the last 2 years, maybe 2 or 3 years, the ESPN Black Culture Portal, they call themselves Anscape now, but it was called the Undefeated, have been having band rankings. So it almost seems like a convergence of those two type, the tangible thing we had with the Anscape, but also the competition type that we saw at the end of Drumline.
I'll go one further. I know Dr. Cavill on his show the past year, Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, which is right here on the Black College Sports Network. He started doing a band ranking over the past year, which, I mean, really, and his rankings would fluctuate based on if you performed. Did you go travel to the road team? Nope. Well, guess what? You may have been the number 2 team, but if you didn't go travel and perform, you might drop, because why? Somebody who did perform better than you. And so it's kind of that fluctuating scale of, did you perform? How did you perform? Did you go on the road? So I think a lot of those factors will measure into this. But the way it was sort of described to me is, imagine that college football poll where you're going to have these voters. They're good people who know bands, who know marching bands, music people like Don Roberts and other people like him. They will be part of this voting group of judges. Now, I don't know if Mr. Roberts himself will be part of that. So let me specify, let me back away from that, but he's the one who's picking the judges. So there will be qualified people judging the bands, and so each band will submit their performances to this portal, and it'll be up for judges. The judges will view it, and then so this thing is being treated just like a football team performance, and you know how pollsters look at football performance on a week-to-week basis. they're doing the same thing here in this space. So
I love the idea. I love that it's because it's part of ESP events. I expect for it to be executed well. I'm pretty sure the devil's going to be in the details, but I'm fairly sure, just like they do with the football game, expenses will be taken care of, along with, like you say, some kind of fee for appearance and additional opportunities once you win it, because that's going to be the driver. Because a lot of bands, I know, like I've heard it over and over, a lot, like the 100, they typically don't like to do competitions like this because they have their own style. They do what they do, and other bands got their own style and they do what they do. So I think a couple of comments, they were right on point. Point number one, Kofi, man, I wish he was here to have experienced this. I mean, I know he had a pretty good relationship with Don too, and man, he would have been all over this, man. Number one,
he would. He would have been. Yes.
Yeah. The second thing I would say is, and I know that Don's really versed in this kind of stuff, but it's gonna matter. It's gonna be good. I think it's gonna be great for a couple of reasons, not just the financial reasons, but it's gonna create controversy, man.
Oh yeah,
folks gonna be in an uproar when their band ain't selected, man, and you talk about national champions, man. It's because them band heads, man, they all in. So I'm loving it.
And let me clarify something here that I see. I don't want to misspeak about the travel, right? Because the travel component was, again, something that I was referencing what I know Dr. Cavill did because remember, his ranking was week to week. Each band has 4 performances that they will be judged on. So, let's kind of be clear about that. And you have a course of a season, you're going to, home games, whether you take your best road, whether you upload your performance from the road, you're going to upload 4 of your best performances or 4 performances. And that's what you're going to be judged on. So everybody is based on 4 performances. But I think what they want to do is, they don't want you to kind of sit back and wait and hold back the 4 performances at the end of the season. Because you're not, whenever they start this first ranking, they're hoping that in your first 2, 3, 4 games that you've uploaded at least 1 band performance. So now they're going to look at everybody based on at least 1 to 2 performances. And the first rankings, whenever they come out, which I wouldn't be surprised knowing that this is, as he talked about that college playoff thing, they probably won't drop that first ranking until probably October, And so whenever it does come out, that first ranking, it'll be based on at least 1 performance, 1 halftime show. And then every other week, there's a 2-week gap in between. It will fluctuate based on, okay, because let's be realistic. FAMU's not, from what we hear FAMU's not going to USF. Then they're going to have the home game against West Florida. What follows that game against
Alabama State at home?
Alabama State at home. So you got 2 back-to-back home performances. You may only upload 1 of those 2 because actually we know they may look similar, right? So you're only going to put 1 of the 2 out there. And then FAMU's got probably 2 road games. They may not go on those 2 road games. And then you got another home game. So that's the whole idea of having the 4 performances. But it's open to all the bands. Look, you gonna pass up on trophy and money. So yeah. And again, the whole travel component, it may not be people are going to travel on the road whether they go or not. The question is, everybody records their own shows. So when you travel on the road, is that going to be a game that you're going to upload and show? So I've already reached out to Don, and when he comes on the show, we will get more details and we will talk about it. And hopefully we may be able to get him on for next Wednesday's show. We got already a busy show scheduled for next Wednesday. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. If it's not next Wednesday, it'll be the following Wednesday. that we will get him in and we will have him break this thing down for everybody. But that's the basics, because I know when this came out, a lot of people were wondering, what's it going to be worth? What's the exposure going to be like? How much are teams going to get or the band's going to get? Well, I think this is going to be a big time event. The right kind of sponsors are putting their money in their mouth behind this. So I think you guys will be excited about this. Let's do this. Let's take a short break. I got to run to the bathroom, and you guys may have to as well. So
TMI.
I'm sorry. Let's take a quick 2-minute commercial break. Come back and let's get into wrapping up the show with some more talk about SWAC Media Day. All right. You're watching the ONG Strike Zone. We'll be back in just a moment.
Itchy, squirmy, scratchy, family not getting clean? Get Charmin Ultra Strong. Go get 'em! It just cleans better. With a diamond weave texture, your family can use less while still getting clean.
Goodbye, itchy squirm. Hello, clean bottom.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
At Hampton Law, our primary goal is to provide non-traditional yet effective solutions and redefine the approach to client legal concerns. As your trusted legal advisor, we believe in sophisticated, personalized services that eliminate the confusion and complexity sometimes associated with legal matters. Our high standard for client care and concern, coupled with our extensive legal knowledge and skills, make Hampton Law a resource focused on the protection of the client's interest and overall goals. We value our clients and truly enjoy working with them. Visit thamptonlaw.com to conveniently schedule an appointment online. Tamika Hampton Esquire, 1631 Rock Springs Road, Suite 336, Apopka, Florida, 407-494-1471. thamptonlaw.com.
Nope.
Come on, him.
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
All right, welcome back to the ONG Strike Zone. Bryan, Marcus, Kelvin here with you tonight. The start of season number 3 here in the ONG Strike Zone. Please do us a favor. I'm a couple of these social media pages, like our Twitter feed. We're trying to get over 1,000 followers. Our YouTube and our Facebook pages. If you guys are watching this show, do us a favor.
Subscribe.
At least, subscribe, download, rate, review, share this show, this feed, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at ONG Strike Zone. We greatly appreciate it. Download the Jericho Broadcast Network's app on the Google Play and Apple App Store. My JBN, my BCSN is where you can find it. And search for the podcast. Always BCSN Pod Zone, BCSN Pod Zone, all of the shows that appear on the Black College Sports Network. We appreciate your support wherever you leave it, however you donate. Coming up in the fall next month, we're going to be doing some extra bonus stuff. So you're going to see some changes to our YouTube page. Those of you get an opportunity to to actually join the page, a little subscriber thing we're going to do. And we're going to make the commitment. We're going to be doing some live post-game shows this year. So we're going to make the commitment and be dedicated after those FAMU games, no matter how late they are. You're going to get a chance to talk about it with us and maybe a few other people, but you're going to get a chance to talk about it right after the game. So we're looking forward to bringing you some of that type of content, not only from our show, but the others. Okay, fellas, you want to talk schedules, or you want to talk about the schedule and the TV stuff, or you want to go into the player stuff?
Go with the TV stuff first, because we can breeze through that, and then we'll go to the players.
All right, so quick schedule update here. Okay, so the ESPN package came out here at the SWAC Media Day, and as you can see, more games got picked up to appear on the ESPN platform. Of course, our game against Jackson State will be on ESPN, but you can see the home game against Alabama State will be on ESPN Plus September 23rd. Our road game at Southern will be on ESPN. Now, if that's correct, that's big. I'm seeing that right? That says ESPN, not ESPN Plus. Am I seeing that right?
Yeah, it's not on Plus. It's not on Plus.
Oh, well, are you really? Okay, that's I'm shocked by that, but okay, that's positive. That's good. October 21st on the road. The first time since in a regular season contest, I got to be right about how I say this. The first time that the Rattlers will travel to Texas for a regular season matchup against an HBCU in nearly 80 years will happen on October 21st. It's been that long, almost 80 years since Florida A&M has traveled to play a football game. And I'm not talking the national championship game that we won. Notice I said against an HBCU, a regular season contest. It's been nearly 80 years. The Texas and Houston Rattlers are super excited. This will be a packed game. So these next 2 years, when the Rattlers travel to Texas, man, they are excited. So that game will be on ESPN Plus. Homecoming, October 28th against Prairie View, will be on ESPN. Okay, that's interesting. And then November 4th, road game against Alabama A&M will be on ESPN Plus. That also, and let's see, also we've got the game against South Florida will be on ESPN Plus. The Florida Classic will be on ESPN U.
Yeah.
And so,
and you can see it on ESPN Plus. That's how I've been watching it, because I don't have the U, but I have.
Yeah. Okay. And I think that was when we saw this tweet come out. At the time, there was only 3 games left. That was the 2 home games against Division II opponents, West Florida and then Lincoln, and then the road game against Valley. Those were the only 3 games that hadn't been picked up as of yesterday evening, right, Marcus? Yeah. So then today we get the announcement that HBCU Go, which didn't have any FAMU games up to, this morning, decided to pick up the game against West Florida, which is our home opener, which is pretty interesting. Listening to the folks at HBCU Go and kind of what they wanted matchups, and they want to feature 2 HBCUs, but I think they realized that they didn't have any FAMU games, and we're like, oh wait a minute, we can't not have any FAMU games on our schedule. So they chose this one, and that'll be an interesting contest. And so right now, it looks like the game against Lincoln California will be on Rattlers Plus. So that'll be a local FAMU produced broadcast. And we don't know what the Valley game will happen. We don't know how that'll be on maybe it'll be on Valley's YouTube page like it was 2 years ago, right?
I hope they have the same announcers.
No, yes, they gotta have that.
Hey, I'm gonna be at that game, but I'm gonna I'm gonna have me some headsets, man. I gotta listen to them guys, man. I love them.
Yeah. So, what do you guys think about the coverage? I mean, what do you think about the coverage?
Well, I think if I could jump in first, I think ESPN is following in lockstep with, I guess, all the prognosticators for the SWAC, and just they jumped on having FAMU. We didn't have this many games last year. I mean, we were on the plus for a good many of them, but I mean, this many coverage. I'm still a little dubious about the 28th and the 7th. It says ESPN / to be determined. So I'm curious what's going to be the determining factor. But once they dropped this yesterday, I was like, man, they snatched up all the games, because we already knew that Florida Classic and the OBC was going to be on ESPN, and you get regional coverage via South Florida for their games. So we already knew 3 were already on the docket. But then to see the other 5 conference games snatched up by yesterday afternoon, and so the only things left were our 2D2 games and the Valley game. So I guess they're kind of falling. They believe they're going to get a lot of, or they already know that they get a pretty good audience with FAMU on the docket. And so they made sure that, especially in light of the coach who is now coaching in snowy weather instead of in hot weather, not being in the SWAC anymore, that
guy,
FAMU and other teams are going to have to be him when it comes to the teams that are going to draw eyeballs.
Anything you want to add here, Kelvin? I'll tell you what, guys. I'm looking at these. I don't know. I think they left out an initial. There's no way that. I'd hate to sound like that guy.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at that FAMU Southern game. You mean that game is going to be on ESPN or not ESPN Plus? I'm scratching my head about that.
It's a big matchup, and
I would like to. I'm encouraging him.
Well, here's what I would say. I would say, number one, what's interesting about this to me, looking at that ESPN lineup particularly, is our West opponents. We playing 3 of the top 4 teams projected in the West.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, we got Southern and 2 of them on the road, Southern and Texas Southern. And then and they both in October.
Yep.
So that's interesting. And then in terms of just the games that it makes sense to me. Our homecoming is big. They've seen our homecoming. It was on HBCU Gold last year. But I mean, it's a draw. And the SU game is a rivalry. SU got a lot of good games at home, so I'm interested what their crowd will look like from week to week, because I know they played like Jackson State last time winner, I believe, the week before, and of course, so the crowd when we came, it was good, but it wasn't typical. I imagine with like when they come to our stadium, it's jam packed because we showing up for that game because it's big to us, and then they travel pretty good, but I was surprised at the attendance at the last Southern FAMU game 2 years ago.
So, Bryan, just as a quick update, I actually looked at the press release for it, and what they have for those games is it says ESPN Network to be determined for the Southern game and the Prairie View game and Bethune-Cookman. So I don't know. It's like that slash in the graphic kind of belies the decision, whereas the press release says ESPN Network to be determined without a slash. So it's not, I don't know if it's going to be on the mothership. It may be, it may not be. So it's not like a firm commitment. It's kind of like a 50-50.
All right. So you kind of said the same thing that G-Man on the beat said there that, and that's understandable. Because what made me ask that is because the fact that that's a homecoming game, which always is at 3:00. Yes, if ESPN main channel comes to you in FAMU, that game against Prairie View, and says, "Hey, FAMU, we want your game, but we need it at 6:00." Is FAMU gonna take the bag that comes with moving it or putting it on ESPN big channel and move it to a 6:00 game? Do you think FAMU would do that?
For homecoming, probably it'd probably be challenging, but I don't know if the price is right.
But see, the thing is, since that's a conference game, it would fall under the conference agreement. So I don't know how much more, if any, we would get any kind of compensation for it.
I think the conference kind of leaves is part of the package that the conference has. But if I remember the commissioner talking about it, I think they don't get directly involved. So I don't know if there's anything that prohibits, above and beyond. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I didn't know if it is what it is because they already signed a deal. And if they want us to move the game, we're not getting compensated. I didn't know how that worked. The other thing is, you say, Bryan, in your theoretical move into the game, you also got to think about, I don't know who got what package. I haven't really been keeping up with all the goings on with the SEC, Big Ten, and ACC. But 3:00, 3:30, typically nationally, that's CBS and SEC time. So I don't know who ESPN, if they brought the package or if they have something to counter that with the Big Ten or ACC. So that's typically that 3:30 to 7:00 is usually the big game of the day.
Well, and that's an excellent point. Real quick, Bryan, you got to remember that the ESPN lost some inventory. What was it? The Big Ten that has locked them out.
Is that? I don't think that's this year though. I think that's next year.
Well, they have to start programming now though to see and test some new markets. They're gonna need some new inventory.
Hey, it'll be interesting.
And the group of five don't move the needle. So I think it's an interesting experiment with HBCU rivalry games because that's kind of look like what they're looking at in major markets.
Well, ESPN's got some competition for HBCU market. HBCU Go has moved into.
They may partner. You know, ESPN is shopping. Ownership.
Yeah, they. I wouldn't put anything past anybody.
Right.
And I just know right now the deal that they have with HBCU Go is pretty significant. Better than anything I feel like I need a video there, Marcus, to go along with it. I thought something was going to come in there with that. Hey,
I did look up real quick. The Big Ten's the one that's moving. I don't know if they were on ESPN before, but they're the ones, the big ticket item that's moving to, I guess, a combination of Fox, CBS, and NBC starting July 1st this year. And it runs through 2029, 2030. So I don't know if the Big Ten.
It started July 1 of 2023?
Yep. Because I'm looking at the article from last August. So it's a 7-year, $7 billion media rights deal with Fox, CBS, and NBC. Ironically enough, it's on the ESPN webpage.
So that would explain the growth in the number of games on ESPN, because right now the SWAC is still finishing up this contract that they have with ESPN, which I think will be up for renewal in 24 or 25, somewhere in there. And they already have the ESPN Go, or not ESPN, HBCU Go, which is in year 2 of their 10-year deal with the SWAC. So look, let me say this. Here's the big thing I hope happens with football is a small number of the inventory on the athletic schedule. And I really hope that we're able to utilize Rattlers Plus to highlight more games for our volleyball program.
Yes.
I hope we're able to show more tennis matches, more baseball and softball matches when that time of the year goes. And I know there's challenges right now that the department is looking into, but we got to find a way. We got to find a way. We have a great vehicle. And I forgot basketball. Every basketball game, I know it was this past year, but we deserve on those games, a good broadcast, some good commentators, good analysis of what we're watching. I mean, the basketball broadcast deserves an upgrade, in my opinion.
Well, the basketball deserves an upgrade.
Yes, it does as well. It does.
Hey,
as well.
I don't know. I don't know if we want to show some of that stuff.
Well,
hey, Kelvin, I had a quick facilities question for you. With the new scoreboard and the design of it, the layout, and the configuration of it, does it present more of an opportunity to have different camera angles, or does it make us more TV ready? Does it give more opportunity to play? I don't know if there's capacity to place cameras. Can we do that to enhance the angles and viewership?
Well, it's going to be a new board with new infrastructure. So my assumption, have not seen the exact plans, and is that yes, I know to that point. You remember the old scoreboard, the Daktronics, the small scoreboard near the field house, that's going away, along with all that signage that was on the field house. All that's going to be digital. They're going to have digital bands on that, as well as along the end zone wall at the field level. So there will be other opportunities to more inventory to do some merchandising type things and so forth. But I think there's still going to be an actual crew that's going to be given the angles and so forth. So hopefully there'll be enough equipment and people, which Josh, came on the show and said that he had the equipment. So hopefully there will be a team that can be dedicated to giving more angles and a more quality broadcast. Now with basketball, that's the one inventory that I do think there's some opportunity with, and I would like to see a few more of those games. Particularly, we got the Oregon game at home this year. That's one that needs to be on an ESPN platform, a kind of national platform. So I hope whether we work that through the conference deals or with HBCU Gold deal, whatever, that needs to be a national platform. We gotta have a few more of those games a part of the inventory.
We're still waiting to see what the schedule's looking like. I mean, I notice, look, I haven't seen the volleyball schedule. There are schools that are already putting out their non-conference basketball schedules. We're still waiting to see ours. So I mean,
somebody put out a tweet. It wasn't a FAMU related tweet, but somebody put out, and I know you did it last week, Bryan, the FAMU non-conference schedule. And it looked like a good 6 or 7 games.
Well, I put out there the 3 that we know based on the other school. I mean, Nebraska, yes. UCF, and we already knew about Oregon. So those schools have already put theirs out. And if there's 3 more that you came across, Marcus, it's probably Power 5 programs that have their schedule ready.
They were.
So we can get close to putting together that, and hopefully, I hope, I don't want us playing too many Division II opponents. Let's keep those to the early preseason, and we got to find a way to find some FCS opponents, even if it's in the state, man. I mean, Florida Gulf Coast, FIU, regional. We got to find a way to find some regional games. Besides Oregon, we need at least 2 other home games during the year. I don't want us to have to play Oregon, and then the only other time anybody sees the FAMU basketball team is when Bethune-Cookman when we play Bethune to open the season.
Yeah, it's real simple, man. We need to have home and home with Mercer, a home and home with JU or North Florida or both.
Yeah.
So yeah, it ain't that difficult to do.
Well, it might be, but anyway, let's get to our preseason all SWAC team members here. And Marcus, you got some great nuggets here. So I'll first make mention of the first team guys that you see there. On the first team, of course, we got to start with the preseason offensive player of the year, Jeremy Musa, quarterback. Also on the first team offensive team, Jamarie Shareed. Up front, you got Cameron Colvin, Jalen Goss. And then on the defensive side, we've got Javen Morgan, defensive back. Also Kendall Bowler, defensive back. And then, of course, Isaiah Major, the linebacker. On the second team, Marcus Riley. Now, a lot of that, it comes from Marcus Riley's time at Bethune-Cookman, where he made a name for himself there. So to see him getting second team all-SWAC honors tells you about, the respect that he got from coaches and ADs
coming to FAMU.
Right. Well, okay, but he also,
because he put up, decent numbers at BCU, but they didn't have no quarterback. They were going through so much, so they understand a guy who was a 4-star coming out, his talent, and you put it with all the other talent we have around, that he could be a breakout player this year.
Right. You also got Kamari Young on the tight end offensive side, and then on the defensive side, Geno Hunt. Geno Hunt should have been a first teamer, but I understand. People don't see Geno Hunt, or probably didn't see Geno because they probably saw Kamari Stevens. But this year, you will see and hear about Geno Hunt. I mark my words. Folks will hear and see more.
We were surprised back in 2021 after the 21. I fully expected him to at least make second team all SWAC defense back then as a freshman, and he didn't make the team.
Marcus, go through some of the notes. You got some interesting nuggets that you pulled out here regarding the selections of these guys.
Yes, we have 6 returning players on this preseason SWAC team who made the all SWAC team at the conclusion of the 2022 football season. So a lot of the players, the ones that made both teams last year at the end of the season, actually brought their performance and preseason this year. Jeremy Musa, of course, Jalen Goss, and Cameron Colvin. Musa was second team all SWAC last year at the end of the season. So as was Colvin. Jalen Goss was first team all SWAC. Jamarie Shareed was second team all SWAC as wide receiver. Isaiah Major and both Javen Morgan were second team all SWAC on the defense side. So rolling those numbers up and doing a quick roll up, and hopefully I counted the numbers right, but FAMU has the most returning players on the preseason team from last year's team. So we lead the conference with 6. Alcorn is second with 5 players who made all SWAC last fall, and have them returning this year. And I believe Alabama A&M is third with 3 players, and everyone else has 2 or fewer.
Hey, I picked Southern to come out of the West. I picked Southern barely coming out of the West over Alcorn. Because last year I picked Alcorn, I maybe was a year ahead of myself last year. But after hearing that Alcorn had the second most returners, 5, and like I said, all the positives that Alcorn, I'm okay if we end up playing Alcorn. I can understand. If I could change my pick, I might change it to Alcorn coming out the West, just because of what's out there, and And if they got a quarterback, that makes them even more dangerous. But that's some good stuff.
And that's why, when we were talking earlier about the reviewing the SWAC, the predictions,
right.
Southern's the pick, from the voters, but I'm looking at the number of returning players from last year's all conference teams that, got voted in based on the performance and how many are coming back this year. I was counting FAMU at first because I was only going to do that because I know folks I've seen various things that say, well, why did FAMU get number one in the East and all this stuff? And I was like, well, we have the most returning players and we haven't lost very many. I mean, we did lose some key players like Isaiah Land and Xavier Smith, but we have 6 returning all conference players across both sides of the ball. And then I started looking at the numbers, just looking at the articles that printed out, and Alcorn's got 5 and Southern has 2. And I think one of them's the long snapper. So I'm like, they must know something we don't know, or there's something else going on because you have 2 returning all conference players and one's the long snapper for Southern. So I'm like, okay, that doesn't necessarily connect for me.
They're running backs. They got a running back room that's stacked 4 deep, and their receivers. The question about them is the quarterback position. But
didn't they transfer? Was it Bashan?
Yeah. They got transfers in, and then they have a couple of guys that were there. I think they got like 6 or 7 guys in camp. So that's going to be the question for them. But they have the skilled people to be scary on the offensive side. Now, I don't know. I think they're going to have to outscore people, though. They need good quarterback play because they got to replace pretty much the entire front 4.
To answer the question, Edwin, why did I pick Southern? Well, when I looked at last year's numbers, Southern was the only other team besides Jackson State to have a top 3 offense and defense. And I know people can go to the schedule and say Southern played a couple of, teams that they boat raced. But I'm talking yardage, not necessarily points per game or wins and losses. I'm talking offensive production. And they did all this with, as everybody else has said, no quarterback, or at least the lack of a consistent quarterback. People were miffed at the quarterback position from about mid-season all the way through. Okay. So I just felt like, okay, they've got this young man, Harold Blood. The Southern folks seem to really like him. And, Coach Dooley has been to the SWAC championship game the last 2 years in a row. Again, it was a toss up between them and Alcorn. And again, like I said, I last year I picked Alcorn, came up short. I think I was a year ahead of myself. And Southern ended up getting there. And I had Southern 2 last year. So this year I go Southern, and might just happen that and I stayed away from any predictions in the East. As I said I would, I didn't make any predictions in the East. I don't care. You say what you want. I'm not doing it. Last 2 years I got burned. I'm not doing it.
FAMU. I said
it. I'm week to week. I'm just like all the coaches.
Goddamn you. All right.
I'm looking at 1-0 each damn week. Don't ask me about the whole season. Because I got some interesting thoughts, and I start looking at these computer simulations of what they think we're gonna do, and I get nervous. So I'm just gonna stick to that. But that's some good stuff there, Marcus. That's some great stuff. A couple of pictures from the weekend. Had a great time. Got to give a shout out to Josh Padilla at Westside Diddy on Twitter. Make sure you follow him. But he did a great job of making sure that Jeremy Musa and Javen Morgan found their way over to our setup where we were. Great conversation with those guys, man. And I think, they hadn't really eaten. I think I was talking to Coach Troy Johnson. He had said they ate a big breakfast. So this was close to the end. By the time we actually got them on, we were probably their last stop before they were going to hit the road. It was about 1:30 or so by the time we actually talked to by the time I talked to these guys. And then, of course, Coach Simmons came on and joined Dr. Kenyatta Cavill, who he's a PV grad. And, of course, when Coach Simmons was at PV, he was a big supporter, big fan. So anytime we get a chance to have Coach Simmons, Doc always comes in and joins that conversation. Of course, Roy Evans, our boss, our CEO, he's a Rattler. So, he'd been behind the scenes all day until this. He was like, my coach is on. He went and got a jacket. He went and found a suit jacket and everything, So, yeah. And then, of course, the OBC executive director, Miss Kendra Bullock, was in the house. So, of course, yeah, she's got
you sit a little closer than AD, huh? What's up?
Marcus, quiet.
Get it.
You are hilarious, Marcus. I'm gonna move on now. I can't even go anywhere after that. Marcus, boy, I tell you, bad. But yeah, it was good to see. I think I saw VP Sykes. I think I did. But I'm not gonna say she was hiding, but that thing is mostly not for athletic directors. I know we talk to the ADs who like talking and want to talk to people. They make their way around. There's a couple of them, and of course you had one particular AD who was in the process of possibly changing SWAC schools, so he wasn't there, and so I don't. This moment is for the coaches and the players. So if the athletic directors who do come, they kind of sit to the side, kind of watch it all. I'm sure if any media members had any questions, they could ease their way up to her and ask her any questions. Pretty good stuff. And
Bryan,
yes, go ahead.
What was one or two things out of SWAC Media Days that stood out to you? Whether it be an interview, something somebody said, whatever.
The belief is that when it goes, I'm gonna start one with Alcorn State because Alcorn, a lot of people said, hey, when Alcorn is quiet, that's when they're dangerous. And so I think that Coach McNair, he's a veteran at this, 8 years, right? And it was interesting kind of talking to him about the first part of his career was the winning years, right? They were back-to-back West champions, going to the conference championship game. Some of them they won, some of them they lost. The Celebration Bowls, they lost a couple in a row under his time. And then these most recent years, things haven't gone all that great, right? He talked about the commitment and what it's like when everybody wants the football program to be successful and have the resources. It's a great thing. And when they don't, or when they kind of get around, or put it like this, he said, when you're at the top, you have to keep doing things to stay at the top. You can't get to the top and get comfortable. And I kind of got the sense that he felt like there were people within the administration or at Alcorn who, when they got to the top, they kind of stopped doing all the things that they were doing to support the program and keep the program flowing. Well, I'll tell you what, Alcorn is one of 2 SWAC programs that have a good NIL. That makes a difference and will make a difference for Alcorn this year. That's all I'm going to say. And so that was one thing. And I think the other thing is a lot of people are bullish on Jackson State. And I keep asking the question, first-year coach, who he said it today, you've lost 60 to 70 players. from a team that put up historic numbers a year ago. And everybody still has this great sense of confidence that, you know, they're going to be right back where they were. Now,
South Carolina State, FAMU, Southern, Texas State.
Don't care.
That's what you're starting off with.
Don't care. They don't care. There's this. That's what went. I mean, look, somebody said the championship DNA. I think that's my good friend Charles Bishop, who said the championship DNA is still in the building. I'm like, okay. And it's not hate. It's not anti-Jackson State hate. It's historical. It's history. The history of just teams. It's hard to build a winning team when everybody that you had that was a part of it is out the door, is not there. So look, that first game against South Carolina State. I mean, look, South Carolina State is hungry.
They better win it.
Hey, Coach Pugh said today, it's been a long time since South Carolina State won a game. They ended their season with a 4 or 5 game losing streak. And so they just trying to get back to figuring out what winning looks like. And Jackson State, I mean, other than Coach Taylor and the fans and maybe a few people on staff, I mean, are y'all really it's going to be a fascinating first game.
It really is. I'm really interested to watch that game.
Yeah,
because
South Carolina State typically
it's going to set the table for both teams. The winner is going to set the table and prepare them potentially to be in a good position in terms of, because they both got really hard early schedules, but potentially prepare them to conference play. And the loser, the loser can go over for the month of September.
Again, I'm going to ask you, what are the odds that what are the odds Jackson State wins more than one game in their first 4? I think they're long odds personally, but
we'll see.
We'll find out. We'll find out how good it is, and
Yeah, I'm interested in the coaching. Not you talking about the talent part of it. Yeah, they got talent, but like you say, everybody knew. I just don't know. Not that the coaches can't coach, but it's going to be their first time in their position sometimes, and the game management and all that. You just got to see it. You just don't know. It's unknown.
Hey, and I'll give you one FAMU nugget. A good friend of the network, BJ Jones, does a great show. Actually, he's got a show coming up, X's and O's, on the Black College Sports Network. It's going to be a great, fascinating breakdown. He's a Southern guy, played at Southern. He said something real interesting to me, or when we did a little roundtable thing at the end. He said championship teams, from what he sees in his mind, championship teams don't make the kind of mistake that FAMU, I think he's more so talking about the leadership, the culture, maybe the players, the kind of mistake that happened this past weekend. He said that kind of thing doesn't happen. That kind of distraction doesn't happen with winning teams, championship teams. So, and he wasn't the only one to say that or reiterate that. So I think a lot of people are kind of interested to see how big of a distraction that thing over the weekend might be. Because again, like we kind of talked about, Kelvin, if something we trip and stumble again at the beginning of the season like we've done the last couple of years, well, people are going to instantly go back to that. Regardless of why we lose, people are going to instantly go back to something that happened 40 days before the first game. And so that's just a narrative that's out there. I'm not saying it's true, accurate. I don't believe that, but
it's not. All teams face adversity. Hell, JSU had they share the last 2 years, didn't stop them from winning. So, it can. The statement is true. It can derail. It can derail a championship team. But every season gonna present some kind of challenge, adversity that a championship team has to fight through. and those who fight through it and come out on the other side. It helps makes that bond. It makes them that much stronger. So it can work in both ways.
Yeah.
Can I say one thing?
Please.
That stood out to me that I was really proud of. Valley, when their coach mentioned that they went from having only about 40% scholarships to now 9%. And they brought in like 59 players. I want to say something like that. He said.
Repeat that again. They have 90% scholarship.
Valley went up to 90% for this upcoming year.
Wow.
And he said he brought in like 56 or 59 players, something like that, including transfer JUCOs in high school. So I was glad to hear that, with a new coach and everything, that they invested in the scholarship to try to be consistently competitive. That was a good sign for me. So I really like that. And then I'm gonna tell you what I wasn't expecting this. I got to watch everybody, and I don't know if he can coach. I don't know if he can win. But UAPB coach was pretty impressive.
I got to go back and watch him. I heard somebody else said that Tiffany Green, she reiterated that very exact sentiment that Alonzo Hampton, the coach at UAPB, and look, those first-year coaches, the 4 first-year coaches over at UAPB, Jackson State,
Valley,
BCU. and BCU. 3 of them are all alums of the school: Valley, Bethune, Jackson State. And Hampton over at UAPB, he's from the Arkansas area, about an hour down the road, and he coached at UAPB for like 5 seasons back in the early 2000s when one of those years they actually went to the SWAC championship game. So, he's been in that culture and that environment. So it's like 4 of the new coaches are there with programs who have been down. Well, Jackson State hadn't been down, but the other 3 were down, and they got somebody who loves that university, who loves that school. TC Taylor loves Jackson State. People talk about him and with great admiration of him. So I thought that was pretty interesting for the 4 first-year coaches to kind of see, can they turn their programs around, because they want to pour in so much into their alma mater. How's that going to work out for them?
Year 1 gonna be tough. The Blue Bloods are talented. They got better too. So FAMU ain't falling back. JSU still very talented. Alcorn, we thinking is gonna be top. Texas Southern is got a lot of returning pieces and Prairie View. So I just don't see none of those teams with the new coaches who are at the bottom, and they were predicted that way. They may be better and more competitive, but I don't think their record is going to show it this year.
Mm-hmm. I wasn't Hampton. What are his ties to Tallahassee, Keith? Keith mentioned that Fangs Up podcast. Make sure you guys check out Keith and the stuff that he does. Fangs Up podcast. I think his show is on Thursday night, and I think he even drops a show on Sunday evening as well. Tallahassee ties. That's interesting. So yeah, and Coach Simmons is one of 3 coaches that are 6 seasons in. He, Connell Maynor, and Dooley, who all have 6 years coaching in the SWAC. Of course, Connell Maynor, he's got a decade plus of time as a head coach.
Hot seat.
No. You know what? It's funny. I told you my definition of hot seat on the show.
Woo!
I am less likely to think he's on the hot seat. I really do, after
depending on how the season go.
He's close to 100 wins career. It's like 6 or 7 games away. There's a sense of, He's a good interview. Let me just put it like that. I mean, I think there's no short of confidence between he and Coach Hugh Jackson. Hugh, and I'll tell you something about Hugh. I think he underestimated the work. Underestimated is the wrong word. I like the fact that he said he had to do some self-evaluation of himself and how he was going to get Grambling back on the right track. I think maybe he thought that maybe more was in the cupboard, or he wasn't going to have to do as much. Not that he's shying away from the work, but I think he looked back and said, we are really further behind than I thought we were. And so he was talking about him changing. Now, here's a guy who's been in the game for 20-something years, coached at the pro leagues, and hearing him talk about doing self-evaluation on himself and his coaching style and how he's going to recruit and get these guys to get the best. I thought that was interesting as well, hearing him talk about that. You don't hear a lot of coaches that have his kind of resume be that honest about saying, I had to do some self-evaluation if I was going to get this thing going in the right direction. So, who knows? Maybe that's why I think people are looking at the West as saying, boy, every week, and it goes right in line with what you said, Kelvin, they may beat each other up on the way to the SWAC championship game. It's just going to be that kind of season, especially among those top 5 teams. So, yeah. Marcus, anything you want to add and close out the show with before we shut this one down tonight?
No, I'm working on a list of coaches to add to our list so we can follow all the coaches. I'm just looking forward to it. I mean, we have an upward trajectory. Football's looking up. We got the 2-time reigning champs. Volleyball coming back, I'm assuming, based on last year's timing, that they're going to start camp right around the same time as football, maybe a little after.
You got to give us an update, Kelvin, of Coach Gokhan. We got what's Coach?
I talked with Coach. No, I talked with Coach. He's coming on the show.
Okay.
I show is so packed on the 2nd, so he might have to come on the following week, the 9th. But yeah, he's coming on the show, and he said that their camp starts. I want to say either the 5th or 6th or somewhere around there, but it starts in a
Monday or Tuesday. On a Monday or Tuesday, probably.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And baseball's looking up, so I'm just excited. I mean, the trajectory's going up.
Schedule, I'm looking for that volleyball schedule. But anyway, I'm sorry, Marcus. Go ahead.
Oh no, just saying. Between a lot of different sports are having an upward trajectory, or have legitimate championship aspirations, or coming off a championship. So it's just looking really, really nice. So we got to keep the momentum going.
Yep. Want to give one more plug. I noticed we had in our show notes here about the clinic that's happening this weekend, the Willie Simmons Heels and Helmets Ladies Clinic that'll take place Friday. $75. I don't know if it's completely booked. Registration ended July 14th, so maybe they're probably all done. But I know that's happening this upcoming weekend. So, Coach Simmons putting that clinic together. We'd love to hear if any of our listeners or viewers, if any of you are attending that clinic, we'd love to hear from you. You can send us an email, ongstrikezone@gmail.com. Let us know how the event went. Maybe we might even bring you on the show. We might even bring you on the show to give us a recap of how that event went. So, Kelvin, any final thoughts before we close up?
Yeah, just one. We talked about golf a little bit, and we didn't get to the Troy Stribling, former FAMU golfer, has been invited to the APGA tour and participates in his first professional event in Louisville Sunday, July 23rd through the 25th. So good luck to Troy, and hopefully he'll perform well.
Yeah. Hey, I tweeted out. I'll close out by saying I put out on one of our social media accounts, Coach Patterson softball clinic. I think that's happening in August. But I know we got various coaches that watch us and watch our show. If you've got a camp, clinic, or maybe a fundraising activity that you're working on or you're in the planning stages, I know you may be going through the athletic department, but hey, we'd love to be there to help support your project and your venture. I mean, maybe we even come and be there live to do something from the event. We just trying to continue to help every program to grow, to meet the needs and help with the wants. And we got some things that we're working on in the background that hopefully we can bring to Rattler Nation, because I think we're ready. I'm telling you, there's a lot of SWAC schools that are doing things around us, and FAMU, we better get on the ball. There's going to be people that are going to be trying to pass us really soon, so we have to step up. We have to raise more dollars. We have to support more, be better in all of those aspects, not only on the field but off the field. And that's where we start. We as alums, those of you who watch, whether you're an alum or a supporter, we got to find it. We got to do more. So we're looking to find some ways to engage with you guys. But all of you watching on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, you guys would do us a solid if you would just continue to share this show. Retweet the link on your social media pages. Tell your Rattler friends in your little unique groups. Tell your alumni. If you're part of a national alumni association, let them know. Let them know about the ONG StrikeZone. We're giving as much information and as many interviews as we can with as many people that have the ties to Florida A&M or Tallahassee or just this community. So continue to talk about us and share this show in as many forms. And yeah, I agree with you, Doc. Yes, we have taken over the SWAC in record time because they cannot get enough of talking about us. That's all I'm going to tell you. Just trust me, being in a room full of SWAC folks, they cannot get enough. They see orange and green coming, and they just like, oh, hell, here comes FAMU. And so good, bad, or indifferent, we stay on their mind. So that's true. All right, we appreciate everybody watching tonight's show. Season 3 going to be a great year for us. We love all you guys. Thank you for all your support on all the platforms. Continue to share the show, like the show, subscribe, rate, review wherever you can. Be positive to one another in those spaces, even if they are Jacksonians and Jackson State Tigers. We can be friendly. We got 39 days though. Just get ready, because after that day, boy, it's just gonna be hell. We just gonna give them hell for a year. But anyway, just enjoy the time. Football season's right around the corner. The boys report on next Wednesday. So by the time we have next Wednesday's show, it's reporting day for the Rattlers for the 2023 season. That's going to do it for Kelvin and Marcus. I'm Bryan. You see our Twitter handles. Make sure to follow us on social media, and make sure you're following the show at ONG StrikeZone. Things up, Rattlers. And make sure when those Tigers get close that you just put them up and you tell them, back up, Tiger, before I have to strike, and strike again. Peace out, everybody.